6 wives and concubines at home. In addition, there are 2 who haven't formally joined the household yet. One is His Majesty's beloved princess, the other is the Yen family's legitimate daughter. That makes 8 women in total. If I were to marry another? I fear my main wife would become so angry she'd drown herself. Surely you don't want to see my wife and child both die. Chang Yaojin's face showed surprise. 8? Yes, 8, Qingxiu said bitterly. My official wife is Xiaochun, my second concubine is Yunyang, third is Zhangsun Pingting, fourth is Ling Yuchan, the innkeeper from Baiwei Inn. Chang Yaojin puzzled, that's only 4. Even including the princess and Yen daughter, that's 6. Where do 8 come from? Qingxiu awkwardly replied, Uncle Chang doesn't know, there are 2 more concubines I haven't publicized, they were quietly brought into the household. They are from a Miao village. Chang Yaojin said with envy. Nephew, you really have abundant luck. When you mentioned Miao village girls, I immediately knew who they are. Are they the 2 you rescued from the Dili Sea dungeon? Qingxiu thought briefly and nodded, that explanation made sense. Chang Yaojin frowned, that brings it to 8. Since it's already 8, 1 more wouldn't hurt. Men generally have 3 wives and 4 concubines. 1 more marriage isn't a problem. No, absolutely not. Qingxiu shook his head repeatedly. Chang Chuemo spoke urgently, Brother Qing, don't rush to refuse. This is my maternal family's direct niece. Her figure and face are both incomparable, she's the downright beauty of the world. And she's the legitimate daughter of the Chui clan of Qinghe. Every scholar in the land dreams of marrying the Chui's legitimate daughter. And you're refusing her? Qingxiu startled, isn't she your Aunt Pei's niece? Chang Yaojin curled his mouth, nephew, even I didn't favor that niece of Aunt Pei. Saying her for you would harm you. The niece in question is Aunt Chui's family, and she's been widowed a long time. Widow? Qingxiu's face fell dark. Chang Yaojin quickly explained, nephew, don't be upset yet, listen. Aunt Chui's niece is a famous great talent in the Qinghe area. If she had been male, she'd surely top the imperial exam. Nephew, you don't know, although she is a widow, on the night of her wedding she drank herself to death at the wedding feast. She's been widowed for 7 years. When her father-in-law and husband both passed away, the family began arranging remarriage. All the proposals were scholars in their 30s or 40s, whom she couldn't tolerate. So she came from Qinghe to seek refuge with Aunt Chui. A widow, a married woman, a mature young wife. Qingxiu, wearing a blindfold, might have had green eyes from envy. Still, he had seen women before. And with 7 or 8 women already, 1 more would truly be excessive, and risk upsetting the existing wives. So Qingxiu said with difficulty, it's not that I'm rejecting Uncle Chang's face, my household is truly full. How about this, I'll discuss it with my wives first. If they consent, then of course it's natural. If they can't accept it, then I'm sorry. That's right. Chang Yaojin nodded repeatedly and laughed, Cho-er, go bring your brother-in-law a hind leg of beef. Quick. All right, brother-in-law, just wait, I'll fetch it right away. Chang Chuemo cheerfully went off for the leg of beef. Qingxiu sighed sadly, Uncle Chang, the outcome isn't settled yet. Please don't let Chuemo run ahead. Sooner or later this matter will happen. Chang Yaojin began to beat around the bush. What sooner or later marriage? Qingxiu felt depressed. Chang Chuemo returned bearing a hind leg of beef. Chang Yaojin instructed, put it on your brother-in-law's carriage, deliver it to him. Let's go, brother-in-law. Chang Chuemo pushed Qingxiu playfully out the door. Before leaving the Chang residence, Qingxiu glimpsed a face in God's eye view. An oval face, perfect skin, naturally arched brows, softly colored lips, hair neatly pinned in a woman's bun. Her peach blossom eyes were moist and seemed to speak. Her figure was particularly full and firm, a rare beauty in the world. Could this be Aunt Chui's niece? The charming widow was secretively studying Qingxiu until he exited the mansion. Then Lady Chui tapped her shoulder with a smile and teasingly asked, how is she? Not bad, right? Did you fancy him? Lei Yuran blushed and shyly replied, Aunt, this is our first meeting, you tease too much. Chang Yaojin approached with swinging arms and laughed, if you fancied him, you fancied him. You've been widowed 7 years, so why so shy? If you like him, boldly admit it, your uncle guarantees this engagement is nailed down. Lei Yuran's face went bright red, Uncle, aren't you too hasty? Hasty? If I wasn't hasty, should I send you back to Qinghe to marry some 30 or 40-year-old teacher? Lei Yuran hesitated, then shyly bowed, I obey uncle. Then she quietly ran back to the rear courtyard. Chang Yaojin laughed heartily. After leaving the Chang residence, Qingxiu instructed Wei Laojiu, Old Jiu, I'll walk back myself. You ride to Sanha village and order all our guards to watch every city gate and exit of Chang'an. If young Master Lu Xuanji tries to leave the city, capture him wherever he is. All right, my lord. Please be careful. Wei Laojiu untied the horses and mounted straight for Sanhe village. Meanwhile, at Lord Xing's mansion, Lu Zhenghui returned home in a poor mood. He had yet to see the avenger of his son's death suffer. Young Lu Xuanji, hearing his father had returned, excitedly ran through the courtyard. Father, you're home so soon? Seeing Xuanji, Lu Zhenghui nodded and smiled. Yes. Ha ha. Xuanji laughed. You look so happy. There must have been big news at court today, right? I bet that blind one who killed my brother got thrown into the Dili Sea. Saying that, Xuanji showed a triumphant expression. Lu Zhenghui frowned and asked, Why do you say that? Xuanji whispered mysteriously, Father, were there 3 old men at court today accusing the blind one? With witness and material evidence, has His Majesty sentenced him yet? Lu Zhenghui's face changed drastically. He suddenly stood and asked, Those 3 old men, did you arrange them? Xuanji smugly said, Yes, I did. When you returned looking worried, I wanted to help. So I thought of this plan. Father, please tell me, has His Majesty convicted the blind one? When is the public execution? We should go watch, it'll be vengeance for my brother. At that moment, Lu Zhenghui felt 1,000 curses run through his heart. He wished he could slap Xuanji into the wall so hard it wouldn't come off. Lu Zhenghui was completely baffled by his son's reckless scheme. A clump of beard hair on his chin twitched as he suddenly raised his hand and slapped Lu Xuanxiang across the face. Slap. A crisp sound. Lu Xuanxiang saw stars, swayed, and clutched his instantly swelling cheek, stunned. Father, why did you hit me? You fool. Lu Zhenghui shouted angrily. Idiot, who told you to make decisions on your own? Such a big matter, why didn't you consult me first? Lu Xuanxiang, filled with grievance, replied, Father, I saw you looking worried lately, I just wanted to help you. Lu Zhenghui raised his hand again, but it didn't land. His face twitched repeatedly. Enough, enough, Lu Zhenghui sighed in resignation, then sat down, helpless. You're trying to get your father killed. Father, why would you say that? Lu Xuanxiang asked confused. Lu Zhenghui looked at him with disappointment and said weakly, Those 3 old men you had testify falsely, they've been arrested and are being harshly tortured in the court of judicial review. Framing a marquis is a serious crime that could get our entire family executed. What? Lu Xuanxiang's face turned pale and his voice trembled. How could this happen? This perfect plan, how could they get caught? Lu Zhenghui lamented, If the assassin had stuck to blaming Duke Qing for your father's disgrace, then your 3 witnesses would have been perfect, as divine testimony convicting Duke Qing. But yesterday at court, the assassin actually told the truth, and your 3 informants were so scared they confessed everything themselves. Lu Xuanxiang calmed down and suddenly smiled. Don't worry, father, they won't implicate me. Because I never contacted those 3 old men directly. I hired Li Lao Gue from the gambling den to handle this entirely. Li Lao Gue is a trusted guard you personally recruited. He would never betray me. Lu Zhenghui's expression softened somewhat, but he still frowned. You said yourself, no matter how loyal, you can't gamble the lives of your entire family on him. Even one risk is too much. So what should we do? Lu Xuanxiang asked. Lu Zhenghui thought briefly. His eyes showed killing intent as he spoke in a low voice. To ensure nothing goes wrong, we have to throw Li Lao Gue away. You ignore him completely. Pack your things and leave the city immediately. Go to Luoyang to stay with your aunt. Hide there a while. Lu Xuanxiang's heart jumped and he said in fear, Father, are you planning to kill Li Lao Gue? Lu Zhenghui snapped, If we don't kill him, he becomes a root of disaster. To take myself completely out of the affair, we must remove Li Lao Gue. Only when there's no one left to testify against us is it safe. But Li Lao Gue has followed us. Get out. Lu Zhenghui roared. Immediately pack and go to Luoyang. If you hadn't acted alone, this wouldn't have escalated this far. Go now, reflect deeply while you're there. Yes, father. I will pack now. Lu Xuanxiang dared not argue further, he gloomily began gathering his things. A moment later, several fit men entered the alley, bowed respectfully to Lu Zhenghui. Lu Zhenghui took a pouch of money from the table, opened it to reveal a bag full of gold ingots. He looked around and said in a low voice, You trained for days, now it's time to use you. Your service is needed. The leader of the men straightened and replied solemnly, Master, please command. Lu Zhenghui spoke quietly, Wei Yi, take your brothers to Anil Gambling House. Eliminate Li Lao Gue. Then take this money and flee. Never return to Chang'an. Wei Yi asked, Master, when should we act? Now. Now? Wei Yi was shocked. Yes. Lu Zhenghui declared firmly. This matter is urgent. If Li Lao Gue survives today, our entire house will die. Do it cleanly. Wei Yi said nothing more, grabbed the money pouch, and exited with his brothers. At that moment, Qingxiu alone arrived at Anil Gambling House, the address given by Cheng Chumo. The day he met Lu Xuanxiang, Li Lao Gue the gambler boss was present. Qingxiu's goal was straightforward: immobilize Li Lao Gue first. He removed his blindfold and pocketed it. Inside the casino, he blended with the crowd. As long as he didn't stare people in the eyes, no one would suspect he was blind. He theatrically placed a few bets and lost all his gold beans. Then Qingxiu cursed at the dice dealer, "Damn it, every time I lose. You aren't cheating, are you?" The servant dealer smiled, "Sir, our house prides itself on fairness. If we caught anyone cheating, they'd lose a hand. I'd never dare cheat. If you lost money, your luck was just bad." Qingxiu growled, "Bad luck? Who are you kidding? Losing once or twice is bad luck, but I bet over 20 times and lost every round. If that's not cheating, then what is?" Other patrons who had also lost began to join in the disturbance. "Yes, cheat. Give me my money back. I lost more than 10 times as well, he must be cheating. Refund us." The dealer's face darkened. He responded firmly, "Sir, you must be trying to cause trouble. In dice gambling, some win and some lose. You lost, but look at them, each of them won big. Indeed, some players had won substantial sums, including 2 big winners, and even the house had lost considerable money." The dealer retorted, "Moreover, the house lost hundreds of taels of silver. If we were cheating, why would we let ourselves lose? Are we idiots?" "Heh!" Qingxiu coldly sneered, "Those 2 who won big, that's surely your plant. They won plenty, maybe after, you all go somewhere and split the earnings. Who agrees?" "Yes. That's it, makes sense. Among so many losers, only 2 winners, definitely inside players. Conspiracy, they conspired." The atmosphere suddenly lit up. The crowd questioned those 2 winners as they looked nervous. Qingxiu was right, they were the casino's plants. "Are you deliberately looking for trouble?" the dice dealer's assistant snapped angrily, his master joining him as they reached under the table and simultaneously pulled out shining clubs. The boss spoke sternly, "No one forced you to gamble. If you want to continue, bet honestly. If not, get out. Our Anil Gambling House has run on integrity for years. And you dare accuse us of cheating? You must want to die." With that, both the boss and assistant brandished clubs, trying to intimidate Qingxiu. Qingxiu rolled up his sleeves and cursed, "You old hag, you cheat but don't want people to say so? Grandpa's not afraid. If you have clubs, I've got clubs." He drew his cane sword and struck the table so hard the table nearly split in 2. The situation instantly turned tense. The entire gambling house fell silent as patrons crowded around. Most of the house's enforcers rushed from all directions to encircle Qingxiu, at least 30 or 40 men. "What's going on?" a gruff voice called out from nearby. A hulking man with fierce eyes parted the crowd and approached. People stepped aside, and a servant hurried up to whisper into his ear. The hulking man moved closer and smiled, "Young brother, our Anil Gambling House is respectable. We never cheat. Wins and losses happen, that's normal, right?" Qingxiu cut open a die with one swing of his cane and tapped the exposed silver block. With a cold laugh he said, "Lies, take a good look at this. If this isn't cheating, what is?" The hulking man remained expressionless. He looked at the dice dealer's assistant, and sternly asked, "You dared cheat behind my back?" The assistant calmly bowed his hands and said, "Whatever Ghost Lord decides." The hulking man nodded, then told those behind him, "Take him, more hands." After the assistant was dragged to the courtyard, a terrible scream echoed. Everyone gasped in shock. But Qingxiu merely twitched his mouth. Through his god's eye view, he saw the assistant laughing and chatting outside. He hadn't lost hands or feet and could easily return later to continue dealing dice. The Ghost Lord turned to Qingxiu and bowed, smiling, "Satisfied now? This is what cheating gets you in Anil House. Do you believe we don't cheat?" Qingxiu sneered, "I still don't believe it. Unless you refund my money, I won't believe you haven't cheated." Many around frowned, thinking Qingxiu was going too far. A bystander warned, "Young brother, this is Ghost Lord's territory. Make him angry and you won't end well." Others were already chopped, "Don't push your luck." Qingxiu retorted, "Did you actually see him chopped? Anyone here?" Suddenly many hesitated, doubts appearing on their faces. The Ghost Lord's expression darkened, "Kid, it seems you came looking for conflict. Did you even ask who Li Lao Gue is before stirring this up? You should figure out how you want to die." Qingxiu shouted, "Fuck it, I did come looking for trouble. If you don't refund, I'll burn your gambling house down." Qingxiu's attitude was extremely arrogant, inviting a blow. "Fine. Li Lao Gue sarcastically nodded, since you're looking for trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. You all seize him, break his limbs and throw him out. At Li Lao Gue's words, over a dozen enforcers charged. Most bettors looked on in pity. Who would pick a fight with the notorious Li Lao Gue? But then shockingly, Qingxiu raised his blind cane and flashed through the enforcers. With the sound of bones cracking and screams of agony, one after another they fell. Within breaths, 10+ men lay on the ground clutching broken legs and howling like ghosts. Li Lao Gue's pupils tightened, he immediately recognized Qingxiu as a top-tier fighter. Everyone, attack together. Kill or be killed. Li Lao Gue felt dread rising as he realized Qingxiu might be here because of him. The remaining 30 or so enforcers, armed with clubs and swords, surged forward, encircling Qingxiu tightly. The battle ring echoed with gut-wrenching cries. As people collapsed, Li Lao Gue's forehead sweat began pooling. He took 2 steps back then tried to flee. He didn't understand Qingxiu's motive fully, but seeing the young man's brutal resolve, he knew continuing would cost him dearly. His only option, run. Before he could get 2 steps, his knee buckled in excruciating pain, and he collapsed. A wooden club had struck his knee. As he tried to stand, he felt weight at his neck. He looked up and saw a warlike young man holding the club against the back of his neck. Who are you? We have no feud. Why do this to me? Li Lao Gue said, voice low, if you want money, you can take mine. I swear I won't report you. Qingxiu cursed, damn. Then should I be a robber? I don't want a single copper from here. But since you let your men cheat people, I must take you to the authorities. Having said that, Qingxiu grabbed Li Lao Gue by his collar and began walking out. The gamblers looked at each other in confusion, then chaos erupted as they scrambled for money. In a blink, the gambling house was emptied. Human greed displayed in full force. When Wei Yi arrived, the place was already in shambles. Frowning, he grabbed a wounded assistant and asked, what happened here? Where's Li Lao Gue? The assistant, through pain, described the scene. Wei Yi's face changed sharply. He urged, quick, don't let him go to the authorities. He mounted his horse and charged off. The day was hot, and the streets weren't crowded. Wei Yi soon spotted Qingxiu. He raised a hand to halt and frowned, wait, that man was supposed to take Li Lao Gue to the authorities. Why is he heading the other way? One subordinate answered, boss, he might be lost. Never mind, catch up and kill Li Lao Gue first. With that, Wei Yi and his men gave chase. Qingxiu noticed 7 men approaching but didn't hesitate. He assumed they were casino enforcers. Brother, we have no grievances or enmity, where are you taking me? What exactly are you going to do to me? Old Ghostly tried to break free, but the other man's grip was like iron pincers, unbreakable. He gradually calmed down. I came to... Qingxiu suddenly stopped mid-sentence, his eyebrows raised slightly as he suddenly halted. From a god's eye view, he locked onto 7 people quickly chasing from behind. All 7 were equipped with tang swords, their steps light, clearly skilled fighters. Qingxiu frowned, thinking to himself, is this another group coming to kill me? Soon, the group surrounded them. Wei Ming glanced around coldly and said in a harsh voice, hand him over, and I'll spare your life. Qingxiu was clearly stunned for a moment. He more or less guessed their purpose, and a faint smile appeared on his face. With just a little thought, he could tell they were obviously here to silence Old Ghostly. He had been worrying about getting Old Ghostly to confess and testify against Lu Xuanxiang, in order to wipe out the Lu family, their potential enemies. Now it was great, Lu's group had given him the perfect excuse themselves. Qingxiu placed Old Ghostly on the ground and whispered, weren't you asking me what I was going to do to you and where I was taking you? I'll tell you now, someone wants to kill you to silence you. I came to save you and take you somewhere safe. Old Ghostly frowned, someone wants to kill me? Who would want that? Sure, I've offended some people, but just common gamblers, not anyone important. Qingxiu chuckled, you really forget important things easily. Didn't Lu Xuanxiang ask you for help a few days ago? That matter is falling apart, and he's scared of getting implicated, so he wants you dead to keep it all hidden. Old Ghostly was shocked, staring at Qingxiu in disbelief, how do you know that? Qingxiu calmly replied, because I'm the one you arranged for someone to frame, under Lu Xuanxiang's orders. You're, the Marquis of the State? Old Ghostly panicked. His throat moved repeatedly. He shook his head in disbelief, no, impossible. I used to be a guard beside Prince Xing of Xinghua. We faced life and death together many times, we were like brothers. He would never have me killed. What a fool, Qingxiu sighed. Looks like you won't give up until you hit a dead end. A few steps away, Wei Ming's expression changed rapidly. They hadn't even started fighting, and the other side had already figured out who they were. How could they continue like this? Qingxiu said mockingly, Lu's group is just a grasshopper after autumn, they won't last long. Even if you kill this man in the street, you'll just end up living as fugitives in the dark. You must already know who I am. I can guarantee you, if you testify together against Lu's crimes, I'll give you a way out. At least you can live a peaceful life in the second half of your lives. Wei Ming narrowed his eyes and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Who's Lu? Who's the Marquis of the State? I just have a grudge with Old Ghostly and came for revenge. What's wrong with that? Old Ghostly looked confused. Brother, I don't even know you. What grudge do we have? Wei Ming casually said, my younger brother gambled in your casino and got scammed. He lost all our mother's life-saving money and, ashamed to face the family, hanged himself in the city god temple. That's our grudge. Qingxiu twitched his mouth. Can't you come up with a more ridiculous excuse? Wei Ming sneered, that's my reason. Enough talk. If you want to save him, I'll kill you too. Brothers, go. The other 6 didn't hesitate. They drew their swords and charged swiftly. Qingxiu didn't draw his blade but used his blind cane to fight. The 6 were decent fighters, but compared to him, they were nothing. With just a few moves, 3 of Wei Ming's brothers were knocked unconscious. Wei Ming was terrified. Without hesitation, he turned and ran, shouting, retreat. Too late. Qingxiu moved faster, struck 3 more times, and the remaining 3 fell. Wei Ming broke into a cold sweat, terrified. He had roamed the land for years and seen many masters, but never one like this. His strength was frightening. He even thought of giving up escape. He didn't get far, only a few dozen meters, before a gust of wind came from behind. Wei Ming turned, slashing with his blade, but pain surged from the back of his knee as Qingxiu's cane struck it hard. Wei Ming fell flat, flipped over and swung again, his other foot kicking the ground frantically. Terrified, he pointed behind Qingxiu and shouted, Old Ghost ran away, aren't you going to chase him? In fact, Old Ghost had already fled while Qingxiu was chasing Wei Ming. But under Qingxiu's god's eye view, no movement escaped his notice. Running away was impossible. Let him run, it's the same if I catch you. Qingxiu raised his cane and knocked the tang sword out of Wei Ming's hand. Just one hit tore Wei Ming's palm open. Wei Ming gave up, closed his eyes, and said, winner takes all. Kill or torture, do as you like. You pretending to be tough? Qingxiu knocked him out cold with a blow to the neck. He took a gold bean from his pocket and gave it to a ragged little girl nearby, smiling, if officers come, stop them from taking anyone. Say these are criminals wanted by the Marquis. Understand? I understand. The little girl replied but didn't take the gold bean. Qingxiu smiled, stuffed it into her hand, and turned to leave. Luckily, King Longfang wasn't far. Soon they arrived at the Qing mansion. He had the gatekeeper bring a few servants to carry all 7 of Wei Ming's group off the street. Qingxiu himself headed to a house near the gambling den. He kicked open the door. It was silent inside, the doors shut. Qingxiu sat calmly on a stone stool and said lazily, Are you coming out yourself, or should I beat you up and drag you out? Your choice. Inside, Old Ghost was shocked. Damn, I hid so well, how did he find me? This doesn't make sense. I'll count to 3. If you don't come out, I'm coming in. 1. The next second, the door opened. Old Ghost stood there awkwardly. I'm out. Smart move. Come with me. Qingxiu walked out first. Old Ghost followed helplessly. Qing residence, backyard. After being splashed with several basins of ice water, Wei Ming and his 6 brothers all shivered and instantly woke up. Once they were awake and saw they were surrounded by people, they were startled. They tried to get up to fight, but remembering what happened before they fainted, they all gave up resisting and lay back on the ground. Though lying down, their eyes were all fixed on Wei Ming. Wei Ming was still stubborn. Young man, this is going too far. We were only going to take revenge on Old Ghostly. You saved him, that's fine, but why did you bring us here? Qingxiu sneered, stop acting. You're already in trouble yourselves, and still thinking of protecting your boss? You're just being foolish. Wei Ming said seriously, acting? I really don't understand what you're talking about. All right. Qingxiu nodded. I hope you stay this tough. Even if you are tough, there must be 1 or 2 cowards among your brothers, right? 3 of the 6 showed complicated expressions. Wei Ming's face changed too. Still lying down, he looked around and said in a deep voice, even if you don't think for yourselves, at least think of your families? The 6 froze at the same time. Wei Ming looked coldly at Qingxiu and said, kill us or torture us, do as you please. But expecting us to betray anything? That's impossible. Don't waste your time. Qingxiu was puzzled. What did Lu's group feed you to make you so loyal? He was almost envious of such loyal subordinates. That level of loyalty was on par with Lord Guan. Wei Ming simply closed his eyes and shook his head. Lu who? I don't even know him. Qingxiu shook his head and clicked his tongue. TSK, you're so loyal to Lu, but have you ever thought that while you risk your lives to kill and silence for him, he sacrifices all 7 of you just to protect himself? That's too cruel. I wouldn't do that. I won't ask anymore what your relationship with Lu is. Since you won't say, let's try another way. I'll release your 6 brothers, have them say that old Ghostly is already dead, and that you were caught alive by the gambling house. Let's see if Lu will send someone to silence you too. Wei Ming's face changed, glaring angrily. You, despicable, shameless. Heh, say whatever you like. Qingxiu turned to a servant and said, take some men, use a carriage, and take them out of the residence. Find a quiet place and release them. Then he said to the 6, if you want your leader to live, do as I say. If Lu doesn't send anyone to silence him, you can go wherever you want. If he does, come back, I'll give you a way to survive. The 6 looked at Wei Ming. Qingxiu frowned. What are you looking at him for? This is the chance I'm giving you. It has nothing to do with him. Don't you want to live? The 6 felt a jolt in their hearts. They all turned their heads away from Wei Ming, bowed to Qingxiu, and followed the servants to the carriage. Wei Ming's expression was also complicated. After all, no one really wants to die for someone else, and he was no exception. But Lu had shown him kindness, and he couldn't be ungrateful. Otherwise, he wouldn't be called a loyal man. Still, he really did want to know, if he was caught, would Lu try to silence him? Afternoon. Wei Ming's 6 brothers arrived at the Duke of Xing's mansion. When Lu saw them, he asked urgently, is it done? It's done, the leader nodded. Lu frowned. Didn't I say that once it's done, go far away and never return to Chang'an? Why did you come back? And where's Wei Ming? Where did he go? The 6 all lowered their heads. Lu's heart jumped. He frowned and asked, speak, where is Wei Ming? One of them looked up, dejected, and said, sir, our big brother was captured by the gambling house people. They said they'd take him to the authorities. They had too many people, we couldn't do anything, so we just ran back. Lu was shocked. What? Wei Ming got caught? And he's being taken to the authorities? Everyone nodded. Lu said angrily, Wei Ming, how careless. He's so skilled, how could he get caught? He had no idea the 6 had also been captured, and were released on purpose. Lu began pacing, his eyes showing a trace of killing intent. He took a deep breath. You all leave. The farther you go, the better. I'll take care of Wei Ming's matter. The 6 froze, they were confused. This wasn't how the Marquis had scripted it. What are you standing there for? Go. The leader's eyes shifted. He clasped his hands and asked in a low voice, sir, if Wei Ming is taken to the authorities, it might not be good for you. Shouldn't we do something? Lu shook his head. I said I'll handle Wei Ming. You all leave Chang'an immediately. Yes, sir. The leader was helpless. If he said anything more, it might raise Lu's suspicions. So he bowed and left with the others. But just as they walked a bit, they heard Lu shout, wait, come back. The 6 returned. Sir, what are your orders? Lu hesitated, then sighed, although the gambling house is under old Ghost Li's name, it actually belongs to me. I've never managed it, and don't know much about it. The staff only listen to old Ghost. My own men are few. If you all leave, I won't have anyone to handle this. I can't just send my guards to openly snatch him, right? Sir is right, the leader nodded. Lu thought a moment, eyes narrowed. Do one last thing for me. After it's done, each of you will get 50 taels of gold. The leader's face lit up, and he said immediately, sir, give the order. We'll go through fire and water if needed. Lu said clearly, sneak into the gambling house and kill Wei Ming. This. The group looked troubled. Lu frowned. If you don't want to, then leave Chang'an tonight. The leader pretended to hesitate, then gritted his teeth and nodded, we'll do it. Don't worry, Wei Ming trusts us. Pretending to sneak in and stab him in the back won't be hard. Lu nodded, good. Go now, be careful. Yes. The 6 left the Duke of Xing's mansion. Once outside, they exchanged glances and began whispering. The Marquis was right, Lu really does want to silence Wei Ming. What now? Take the gold and run, or tell the Marquis? I think we should tell the Marquis. I heard he treats his people well. We don't know business or farming. We only have martial skills, nothing else to live on. Wherever we go, we'll just use up what we have. Better to work for the Marquis. Even as house guards, we can get good food and wine. What do you think? Nice, I think the same. Then let's go to the Qing residence. The turncoats agreed in unison and swaggered toward the Marquis's mansion. The turncoats came back. When Wei Ming saw his 6 subordinates, his heart sank. His expression grew complicated. As the saying goes, a warrior dies for one who understands him. Wei Ming had been loyal to Lu Zhengwei not only because Lu had done him a favor, but also because they shared many common ideas. If the other party had really chosen to silence him for his own safety, then there was no reason to risk his life for him. Old Ghostly was thinking the same at that moment. What he wanted to confirm was whether these people had been sent by Lu Zhenghui to silence him. If so, there was no reason for him to risk his life for Lu either. Wei Ming asked in a low voice, "Old Hu, why did you come back?" The middle-aged man named Old Hu looked conflicted and said, "Big brother, the Marquis was right. Duke Xing sent us back to silence you." Wei Ming's face darkened. Old Ghostly, shocked, said, You really came to kill me?" Old Hu looked at Wei Ming and gave a bitter smile. "Big brother, even though Duke Xing has done you a favor, that doesn't mean you should die for him. He wanted us to kill Old Ghostly to protect himself, and now he wants us to kill you for the same reason. Someone like that only thinks of himself. It's not worth dying for him." Wei Ming took a deep breath and nodded with a bitter smile. "You're right. It's not worth it to die for someone like that." He turned to Old Ghostly, cupped his hands and said, "Brother, to be honest, we were sent by Lu Zhenghui to kill you. As for the reason, I think you know better than we do." Old Ghostly's eyes bulged, panting heavily, eyes red as he roared, "How could he do this? I've followed him since I was young, traveled everywhere with him for nearly 20 years, ran his gambling house and made him so much gold and silver, and now he wants to kill me." Qingxiu said calmly, "Now you believe what I said earlier?" Old Ghostly gritted his teeth and said hatefully, "If he's heartless, then don't blame me for being disloyal. Lord Qing, I'm sorry I didn't see his true face. I was forced to help the wicked. But now, if you give the word, I'm willing to be a witness and testify against Lu Xuanxiang." Wei Ming also cupped his hands and said, "Lord Qing, I feel the same as Old Ghostly. As long as you don't mind us rough men, I'm willing to serve you with my brothers. No need to talk about risking fire or water, just being your personal guards is more than enough. If you need me, I can testify against Lu Zhenghui too." "Good." Qingxiu nodded with a smile. "You and your brother seem skilled. Be my house guards. The monthly pay is only a few taels of silver, but you'll have all the food and drink you want." Wei Ming laughed heartily, "Haha. Thanks for not looking down on us, Lord Qing. From now on, we serve you." Old Ghostly looked a bit envious, but also a bit gloomy. He knew that his crimes couldn't be overlooked. If he admitted to working with Lu Xuanxiang, even if he didn't die, he would suffer severe punishment. Qingxiu saw his concern and said to him, "Don't worry too much. I'll say a few good words for you to His Majesty." Old Ghostly was overjoyed. He immediately knelt and cupped his fists. "Thank you, Lord Qing, for not holding a grudge. If I survive, this life is yours. I'll go through fire or water for you." At that moment, a voice came from the front yard, My lord, my lord." With the shout, Wei Laojiu came into the backyard. When he saw Qingxiu, he quickly walked up and said with a smile, "My lord, that brat Lu Xuanxiang has been caught by the brothers and brought back." "Good," Qingxiu nodded. "Bring him in." Wei Laojiu left, then returned with a teenage boy in tow. Lu Xuanxiang had already been beaten, his face was swollen and bruised, full of fear. Why are you arresting me? My father is Lu Zhenghui, Duke of Xing. If you arrest me, my father won't let you go. Let me go right now." Lu Xuanxiang still didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. When he saw Old Ghostly, his body trembled and he said in shock, "Old Ghost? Why are you here?" Old Ghostly said coldly, "Why am I here? Isn't it thanks to your father?" "Am I father?" Lu Xuanxiang's face grew uneasy. Old Ghostly said sternly, "Your father sent people to silence me. You can't say you didn't know about that, right?" Lu Xuanxiang turned pale, like he'd lost his soul. Old Ghostly yelled, "You little bastard. I watched you grow up, treated you like my own. Your father wanted to kill me and you didn't even warn me? You ungrateful traitor." Lu Xuanxiang quickly shook his head, "Old Ghost, I didn't know. I didn't know my father wanted to kill you." Wei Ming gave a sarcastic smile and said with a cough, "Enough lying. When your father ordered us to kill Old Ghostly, you were outside listening. Don't think I didn't see." Lu Xuanxiang's face went blank. Even if he was dumb, he now knew where he was and who had captured him. Qingxiu came up to him with hands behind his back and asked, "Kid, do you recognize me?" Lu Xuanxiang trembled, You're Lord Qing? Not bad, at least you're not stupid. Now tell me, do you want to live or die?" Lu Xuanxiang perked up and quickly knelt, nodding, "I want to live, of course I want to live. Lord Qing, please spare me. If you want money, my father will send it right away." Qingxiu shook his head, "I don't want money." "Then what do you want?" Lu Xuanxiang asked, confused. "I want your father's life." Lu Xuanxiang's body shook violently. He looked at Qingxiu in disbelief. Qingxiu didn't beat around the bush. "Tomorrow morning, I'll take everyone to court. As long as you claim that all your crimes were ordered by your father, I can spare your life. What do you think?" Lu Xuanxiang was terrified. His body trembled violently, and his face showed hesitation, fear, and panic. "No, you can't do that, please, I beg you, let me go." He sobbed and pleaded. Wei Laojiu kicked him and scolded, "You little rat. Why didn't you think about this when you were framing our lord?" Qingxiu waved his hand, "Take him away and lock him up. Lu Xuanxiang, you have one night to think it over. Tomorrow morning, I want an answer. If you don't shift the blame to your father, the one getting beheaded will be you. Take him." Lu Xuanxiang, spoiled all his life, had never faced anything like this. His face had already turned ghostly pale from fear. Su Xiaochun had been troubled these past few days, because her husband had been spending the night with 2 or even 3 concubines every night. She was very worried about Qingxiu's health, afraid that at such a young age, he would be drained completely. Because of this, she secretly held a family meeting while Qingxiu wasn't around. She even suggested that after dinner, Qingxiu should draw lots. Whichever name he drew, he would go to that person's room for the night. The lots would also include a few blanks. If he drew a blank, then too bad, he'd get a deluxe single room that night. Qingxiu didn't know about this because the lot drawing only started that very night. So after dinner, Su Xiaochun placed a small wooden box on the dinner table. Qingxiu looked at the box in confusion and asked, "Wife, what's this about?" Su Xiaochun cleared her throat and said, "Husband, I noticed that recently you've been indulging every night, sleeping with multiple women, and not going to bed until midnight. We wives and concubines are all worried about your health. So, after discussion and unanimous agreement, starting today, you'll draw lots every day before bed. Whose name you draw, that's whose room you'll visit that night. There are also a few blanks in the box. If you draw a blank, then you'll sleep alone." After saying this, Su Xiaochun smiled sweetly and pushed the box forward, saying, "Lord Qing, time to draw a lot." Qingxiu's mouth twitched. This is like picking a name plaque. Picking a name plaque? What name plaque? Su Xiaochun was stunned at first, then suddenly realized and said with excitement, "Right. Why didn't I think of name plaques? I'll prepare some wooden plaques with our names on them. Whoever the Lord draws, that's who he'll spend the night with." Qingxiu looked displeased. "Wife, is this really necessary? What if I keep drawing the same person every day for a month? What about the others?" Li Yuqing and Lu Yunyan also showed concern on their faces. 30 like a wolf, 40 like a tiger, they were in their prime. If they didn't get any for a month, how would they survive? Su Xiaochun spread her hands and giggled, "Well, that's just bad luck. I'm pregnant and can't be with you anyway, so it doesn't matter to me who you draw. Please, Lord Qing, go ahead." Qingxiu showed no interest. Fine, he'd just secretly act at night and keep it low-key. So he casually picked a folded slip from the box and threw it onto the table. "Come on, let's see who husband drew." Zhang Sun Pingting urged Su Xiaochun excitedly to open it. Su Xiaochun eagerly opened the slip, and a smile appeared on her face, blank. "Haha. Lord Qing sleeps alone tonight." Qingxiu's face twisted, feeling completely defeated. If he had drawn someone, he could still sneak in and have his way. But if it was a blank, sneaking around would cause too much noise. "Husband, looks like you're spending the night alone today." Qingxiu noticed that they all looked like they were enjoying his misfortune. Qingxiu felt annoyed. When they were being pleased, none of them had such smug faces. Qingxiu stood up and smiled, "Not a bad idea. From now on, we'll draw lots. Since it's blank today, I'll just rest well." Then he left. Qingxiu wasn't letting it go, he had his own plan. If they wanted to draw lots and even added blanks, he'd draw blanks every day for a month and become a eunuch for a month. Let's see who breaks first. He planned to prepare some blank slips and keep them with him. When drawing lots, he'd swap one in. After a month, Li Yuqing, Lu Yunyan, Yunyang, Su Xiaochun, and Li Yuchan would probably beg Su Xiaochun to stop this system, they'd be parched by then. By then, Su Xiaochun's plan would collapse on its own. That night, Qingxiu didn't go to anyone's room. He slept alone and made it through the night. Early the next morning, he took Wei Ming, Old Ghostly, and Lu Xuanxiang to the Tai Chi Palace. On the way, Wei Laojiu asked, "Lord, why do you want Lu Xuanxiang to pin the crimes on Lu Zhengwei? Lu Xuanxiang arranged people to slander you, Lu Zhengwei sent people to silence Old Ghostly. The charges are already clear. If we push all the blame onto Lu Zhengwei, there'll be no reason to charge Lu Xuanxiang." Qingxiu said, "You don't understand. Back when His Majesty was still Prince Qin, Lu Zhengwei helped him conquer the land. Even if we ignore their personal friendship, just from his years of service, a charge of aiding and attempted murder won't be enough to get him executed. But if we pin everything on Lu Zhengwei and combine the crimes, then even if His Majesty wants to cover for him, or officials plead for mercy due to friendship, he still can't escape death." Wei Laojiu suddenly understood, "So that's it. As expected, Lord, you thought it all through. One more thing, Qingxiu smiled slyly, if I don't do this, how else can I enjoy a good show of father and son turning against each other? Wei Laojiu got goosebumps. When they arrived at the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the civil and military officials were lined up in 2 rows. The ministers paid respects. If there was something to report, they spoke. If not, they just muddled through. In court, anyone could speak, and some bickering and dodging were unavoidable. Soon it was time for Qingxiu's false accusation case. Emperor Li Er put down the scroll and said, Lord Qing, we've identified the person behind the false accusation against you. It was an employee of the Annal Gambling House. Whether he was ordered by someone else still needs further investigation by the Supreme Court. We believe the truth will come out soon. Qingxiu cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty need not trouble yourself. I already know who was behind it. Oh? Li Er was surprised. Lord Qing, so fast? Even faster than the Supreme Court? Who's behind it? Lu Zhengwei's expression grew unnatural. He had a bad feeling. Qingxiu said, The witnesses are outside. Your Majesty can summon them to testify at any time. Then he turned and gave Lu Zhengwei a meaningful smile. That smile made Lu Zhengwei's heart sink. Li Er said, Summon the witnesses. At the command, Lu Xuanqiang, Wei Ming, and Old Ghostly were brought into the hall. When Lu Zhengwei saw them, his vision went dark, and his body swayed. His face turned deathly pale. Li Er looked at Lu Xuanqiang, then at Lu Zhengwei, and frowned, Duke of Xing, why does this boy look so much like your son? Lu Zhengwei's mouth twitched. Like? That is my son. He cupped his hands and said, replying to your Majesty, he is my second son, Lu Xuanqiang. Li Er was a little stunned. Many officials also had the look of enjoying the show. Lu Zhengwei lowered his head. His expression was complicated. After hesitating for a while, he gritted his teeth and decided to take the fall himself. Lingzhen asked with a strange expression, Lord Qing, why did you bring the son of Duke Xing to the Hall of Supreme Harmony? Could it be that he's the one who framed you? When Lu Zhengwei heard Lingzhen ask this, any trace of wishful thinking in his heart vanished instantly. When he saw Wei Ming and Old Ghostly appear in the hall, Lu Zhengwei's heart turned cold. He had sent Wei Ming to silence Old Ghostly, yet both of them were now standing here. The outcome was obvious. Qingxiu shook his head and said, reporting to your Majesty, the one who framed this humble subject was not young Master Lu. Oh? Not Lu Xuanqiang? Then who was it? Lingzhen intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Lu Zhengwei. Lu Zhengwei's heart pounded wildly. He was extremely nervous, but his eyes showed a glimmer of hope. If it wasn't his son who framed Qingxiu, then why did he bring his son to the hall? Lu Zhengwei was confused and completely puzzled. Qingxiu said to Lu Xuanqiang, Young Master Lu, this is your chance to redeem yourself. Why don't you truthfully testify? With a thud, Lu Xuanqiang knelt on the ground and didn't dare look at Lu Zhengwei. His voice trembled and stammered, Why your Majesty, it was my father who framed Lord Qing. What? Lingzhen stared wide-eyed at Lu Xuanqiang in disbelief. He wasn't shocked that Lu Zhengwei had framed Qingxiu, but that Lu Xuanqiang had actually testified against his own father. Lingzhen found it hard to believe and was stunned. Lu Zhengwei's eyes went dark, his face turned ashen as he looked at Lu Xuanqiang, his eyes full of despair and sorrow. Lingzhen said in a deep voice, Lu Xuanqiang, think carefully. This is your own father. So what if it's my father? My father is nearly 50. I'm still young, I have plenty of good years ahead. I can't just die so young. Lu Xuanqiang lowered his head even more, and with a choked voice said, I wouldn't dare lie to your Majesty. A few days ago, my father instructed workers at the gambling house to find 3 civilians outside the city to falsely accuse Lord Qing. I heard it with my own ears. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire court was in an uproar. Civil and military officials began to murmur. So it was the thief crying, Stop thief, after all. Lu Zhengwei, I actually trusted you, and this is what you are. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Even his own son is testifying against him. What terrible things must he have done to deserve this? Incredible. A son testifying against his father? I've been an official for years and have never seen anything this explosive. Lu Zhengwei looked at his son Lu Xuanqiang in despair. Suddenly, it felt like a knife pierced his heart. He even wished he were dead. He stepped forward 2 steps to stand behind Lu Xuanqiang, and muttered, Foolish child, foolish child. Father already took all the blame for you. Why go this far? Lu Xuanqiang heard this and his mind buzzed. He was stunned. Lu Zhengwei looked at Qingxiu and laughed bitterly, Lord Qing, what a trick, having my own son testify against me. Aren't you being too cruel? Aren't you afraid of divine punishment? Qingxiu frowned, Duke of Xing, don't falsely accuse me. Your son volunteered to testify. What does that have to do with me? You must have instigated him. Lu Zhengwei's eyes turned red as he roared, if you have a problem, come at me. Why make things hard for my son? He's still a child. A child? Qingxiu said coldly, a child who arranges for people to give false testimony? I sat at home and trouble came from the sky. If I hadn't overturned the case, do you think I'd still be here talking with you? I'd have been thrown into the Supreme Court's prison by now. Winners are kings, losers are criminals. Nothing more to say. Lu Zhengwei turned to Emperor Li Er and said, Your Majesty, it was all my doing. I arranged for the 3 old men to give false testimony. Lu Xuanxiang's body trembled. He suddenly burst into tears and shouted, It's not like that. It's not like that. Your Majesty, it wasn't my father who did it, it was me. I arranged for the false witnesses. I did everything, it had nothing to do with my father. Lu Zhengwei showed a hint of relief on his face. He gently touched Lu Xuanxiang's head and said softly, Foolish child, one must take responsibility for one's own actions. How can a father let his son take the fall for his own mistakes? Your Majesty, my son Lu Xuanxiang has always been filial and well-behaved. He couldn't possibly do such a thing. He only said that to protect me. Please punish me. Saying this, Lu Zhengwei knelt on the ground, showing sincere remorse. Lu Xuanxiang couldn't help but slap himself and cried out, Father, I'm sorry. I accused you because I was afraid to die. I was wrong. I was wrong. Please don't take the blame for me. I'll bear my own guilt. Your Majesty, don't listen to my father. If someone must die, let it be me. Lu Zhengwei scolded angrily, You fool. I'm not dead yet. It's not your place to speak. Shut your mouth. Emperor Li Er was completely stunned by this father and son drama. After a moment of silence, he finally said, Lu Zhengwei, tell me everything about how you framed Lord Qing. Knowing he was doomed, Lu Zhengwei didn't hesitate. I instructed the gambling house owner Old Ghostly to send workers to a neighboring village in Sanha to find 3 old farmers. I promised them gold and silver in exchange for their false testimony. Yesterday, when the testimony was exposed as false, I feared the matter would be uncovered, so I sent Wei Ming to silence Old Ghostly. That's all. Your Majesty, I, Commoner Wei Ming, am guilty. Wei Ming knelt immediately. Old Ghostly also knelt and said, Your Majesty, I, Commoner Old Ghostly, am also guilty. Li Er's gaze turned cold. He said sternly, Guards. Take these 3 to the Supreme Court. Execute them after autumn. Wei Ming and Old Ghostly both shivered and felt anxious, hoping Lord Qing would speak on their behalf. At that moment, Qingxiu stepped forward and said, Your Majesty, although Wei Ming and Old Ghostly are guilty, their crimes do not warrant death. Yesterday, out of remorse, they turned themselves in to me. Li Er raised an eyebrow and nodded, Since they turned themselves in, they don't deserve death. But death is avoided, punishment is not. 50 floggings and 1,000 li of walking exile. Any objections? Wei Ming and Old Ghostly quickly expressed their gratitude. Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you for sparing our lives, Your Majesty. They were thick-skinned. 50 floggings were like a tickle to them. Li Er looked at Lu Zhengwei, a look of sorrow on his face. He sighed, Lu Zhengwei, you've served the Tian's mansion for many years. How could you make such a foolish mistake? Lu Zhengwei knew the emperor was troubled and responded with a carefree smile, Your Majesty need not feel troubled. I willingly accept punishment. Li Er turned to Daizhou and asked, Daizhou, what punishment does this crime deserve? Daizhou stepped forward and cupped his hands, Your Majesty, the crime of framing another should be punished by becoming a slave and exiled to Lingnan. But Lu Zhengwei framed a marquis. By law, his whole family should be exiled to Lingnan. Hiring a killer is a capital crime. This is so serious? Li Er frowned. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Wei Zheng noticed Emperor Li Er's hesitation and stepped out holding his court tablet, saying, Your Majesty, the law is impartial and must not favor anyone. What Duke Xing has done shakes the foundation of the nation. His crime is severe and should be punished publicly to serve as a warning to the entire court. Lu Zhengwei gave Wei Zheng a fierce glare. But Wei Zheng had spoken the truth, and Lu had no grounds to refute it. Li Er also glared at Wei Zheng, who simply closed his eyes, pretending not to notice, almost causing Li Er to explode with anger. At this moment, Qingxiu said, Your Majesty, if I hadn't had a way to prove my innocence, if it were someone else in my position, they might have already been convicted. Lu Zhengwei, as a duke, knowingly broke the law. By rights, his punishment should be 1 degree heavier. But since he has already confessed, I will not pursue the increased penalty. Let the Tang law be applied fairly. Li Er's beard twitched, and he said displeased, I know how to deliver a verdict. I don't need you to teach me. Qingxiu copied Wei Zheng's stance, folded his hands in his sleeves, and stood off to the side, closing his eyes and resting. Seeing this, Li Er became even more irritated. Chang Yaojin reminded, "Your Majesty, it's time to declare the sentence." "Yes, yes," Zhang Sun Wuji added, "Your Majesty, the crime is already established. It's time to pronounce judgment." Li Er opened his mouth, then clenched his teeth and said, "Lu Zhengwei framed a marquis, hired killers to silence witnesses, and caused severe consequences. Daizhou, take Lu Zhengwei to the Supreme Court. Choose an auspicious day and execute him publicly." Lu Xuanxiang also bears guilt through association, but considering his merits in reporting the crime, he is demoted to commoner and banished from Chang'an. After speaking, Li Er gave no one the chance to comment and went straight into the side hall. Following Wang Da's call for dismissal, all the civil and military officials exited the Hall of Supreme Harmony. On the way to the Supreme Court, Lu Zhengwei smiled at Lu Xuanxiang, who was weeping in guilt and remorse. "Son, don't be sad. There's no one in the world who isn't afraid to die. I understand how you felt then. Don't blame yourself. Remember, your life was exchanged for mine. Live well. Don't seek revenge for me. You're no match for the state-stabilizing marquis. After you leave, pack your things and go to Luoyang to join your aunt." Lu Xuanxiang watched Lu Zhengwei being taken away and knelt down, kowtowing 3 times with force. Elsewhere, Wei Ming and Old Ghostly were taken to be caned. After the caning, they were shackled and began their 1000 li journey of exile. Chang Yaojin caught up with Qingxiu's carriage. The two lifted the curtain and talked through the air. Chang Yaojin laughed, "Boy Qing, now you've got one less enemy in Chang'an. You don't have to worry about sneak attacks anymore. This is worth celebrating. Don't you think you should do something about it?" Qingxiu smiled too. "Then I'll set a table at Imeju. Uncle Chang, bring Chuma with you." Chang Yaojin laughed, shaking his head. "Dining out is too insincere. I can go to Imeju anytime." Qingxiu had a thought and guessed what was coming. Sure enough, Chang Yaojin grinned, "Come to my house tonight for a feast. Bring some cold beer. I always brag about your cooking in front of your 2 aunts, but they don't believe me. It's embarrassing. Help me save some face, will you?" Chang Yaojin had mastered the art of talking. He made it sound like Qingxiu was helping him, not being asked to cook. Qingxiu chuckled and nodded. "Then I'll head back and prepare. I'll come to the Chang residence later." Chang Yaojin laughed, cupped his hands, and said, "Then I'll be waiting for my dear nephew to visit." After returning home, Qingxiu prepared some seasonings and asked Wei Laojiu to fetch plenty of cold beer from Sanha village. Yunyang was supporting Su Xiaochun on a walk in the backyard. Su Xiaochun was 7 months pregnant, with a little over 2 months left until her due date in late autumn. She had to walk daily with her big belly, or else it would be hard on her. Seeing Qingxiu come out of the kitchen carrying bags, Su Xiaochun came over and asked, "Husband, where are you off to?" Qingxiu didn't hide it and sighed, "Wife, you don't know. Chang Yaojin's wife, Madame Cui, has a niece staying at their house. Old Chang is trying to match me with Miss Cui." Su Xiaochun's expression froze, puffing with anger. "Doesn't he know you already have several wives? Why act as a matchmaker? You're carrying all these things, don't tell me you've taken a liking to her." Qingxiu shook his head, "I've never even seen her. How could I like her? Besides, I'm just a blind man, who could I possibly like?" "That's true." Su Xiaochun still looked suspicious. "Didn't you reject him? You're so well prepared going to Chang's house. Isn't it to meet Miss Cui?" Yunyang looked disgusted. If the master really wanted to, he could have just gone secretly. Why tell us? Qingxiu spoke righteously. "I, Qingxiu, act with a clear conscience. How could I do such a thing behind my wives' backs? Actually, Uncle Chang bragged in front of his wives that I'm a great cook. They didn't believe him. So he asked me to help him save face. What about Miss Cui?" Su Xiaochun looked hurt, her eyes red. "You say it's about cooking, but isn't it really to get closer to Miss Cui?" Qingxiu raised 3 fingers and swore, "Heaven and earth can judge. If I have that intention, let me be struck by lightning." Boom! At that moment, thunder rumbled faintly from the cloudy sky. Qingxiu's mouth twitched, and he felt a chill all over. Su Xiaochun and Yunyang also turned pale with fear, afraid lightning would strike Qingxiu. Su Xiaochun quickly covered his mouth and said, trembling, "Don't swear anymore. We believe you. Don't joke about your life. If you get struck, how will I and the baby survive?" Qingxiu gently pushed her hand away and said helplessly, "I really have no such thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't have told you. If you don't bring it up again, I promise to keep my distance from Miss Cui. I'm going to Chang's place to reject her in person." "Really?" Su Xiaochun looked unsure. "Really? If I lie, let lightning strike me." Again, Su Xiaochun and Yunyang turned pale and looked to the sky. Luckily, no lightning followed. Okay, we believe you. Just go already. Don't swear again. Su Xiaochun urged him to leave quickly, afraid more thunder would come and get them all involved. After Qingxiu left, Su Xiaochun looked up at the sky, full of worry. Yunyang, when husband swore just now, there was suddenly a rumble of thunder from the sky. What do you think it meant? Yunyang gave a dry laugh and shook her head. I don't know either. Su Xiaochun looked at Yunyang and tilted her head to ask, could that have been a warning from the heavens to our husband? Yunyang got a little flustered. Xiaochun, don't talk nonsense. What if your words come true? Tui, let's talk about something else. At that moment, Zhang Sun Pingting entered the backyard. Upon seeing the two, she walked over. Sisters, I just saw our husband leave the house with a bag. Where is he going? Zhang Sun Pingting asked, puzzled. Su Xiaochun sighed and repeated what Qingxiu had just told her. Zhang Sun Pingting frowned. Madame Chui's niece? Isn't that a young lady from the Qinghe Chui family? She looked a bit surprised. Su Xiaochun asked curiously, Pingting, why are you so surprised? Zhang Sun Pingting explained, you may not know, but the Qinghe Chui clan is one of the 5 surnames and 7 clans, and they are even more prestigious than the other 4. They are considered the top of the aristocratic families. Su Xiaochun had no good feelings about the 5 surnames and 7 clans. She just said, oh, and replied, so what if they're the top family? Our husband wouldn't try to climb the social ladder just because she's from the Chui clan. Zhang Sun Pingting smiled faintly. Sister, you seem to have a prejudice against noble families. Su Xiaochun replied angrily, of course I do. They bullied our husband. Such a big family, and 3 of them ganged up to suppress our husband. I don't like them one bit. Zhang Sun Pingting said, Sister, the Qinghe Chui clan isn't like the others. Among the 5 surnames and 7 clans, they're the only ones who don't monopolize knowledge. As long as someone has a good nature and upright character, they can study in Qinghe. The Chui clan doesn't bully others. On the contrary, the men from the Chui clan are all well-educated and polite. The women are also highly literate and well-mannered. Many scholars and poets consider it an honor to marry a Chui woman. Even my father wanted to marry a lady from the Chui clan. If he hadn't married my mother, he might have ended up with a Qinghe Chui lady. Su Xiaochun was surprised. Even your father wanted to marry a Chui lady? Zhang Sun Pingting laughed. Not just my father. Among civil officials, 8 out of 10 think the same. Lord Fang Xianling even went to Qinghe himself to propose marriage in his youth but failed. Su Xiaochun asked in confusion, what's so good about marrying a woman from Qinghe Chui? Why do so many want it? There are many benefits, Zhang Sun Pingting explained. Many civil officials come from the Chui clan or received support from them while studying in Qinghe. So, the Chui clan holds great influence in court. Cheng Yaojin only rose to power because he married a Chui woman. Even though he acts rough, people still respect the Chui family name behind his wife. Su Xiaochun fell into deep thought. After a moment, she asked seriously, so if our husband marries a woman from the Chui clan, could it make things easier for him at court? Zhang Sun Pingting replied casually, perhaps. At least many censors related to the Chui clan wouldn't dare impeach him lightly. Officials who have ties with the Chui clan might even try to befriend him. She suddenly realized and looked at Su Xiaochun in shock. Sister, don't tell me you're thinking? Su Xiaochun smiled and said, anyway, our husband already has several wives. What's one more? Especially if it's a woman from the Chui clan. If the other noble families try to trouble him again, maybe this Chui woman could actually help our husband. Don't you agree? Yunyang nodded repeatedly. Yes, you're right. Su Xiaochun shouted to a busy servant nearby, Xiao Hai, come here. The young servant boy ran over. Madam, you called? Su Xiaochun said, go wait on the road to Huaidafang that Lord Qing must pass. Deliver this message, I do not object to him marrying Madame Chui's niece. Hurry. Yes, madam. Xiao Hai replied and dashed out of the state-stabilizing marquis residence. In less than the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, he saw the marquis's carriage and quickly ran to stop it. Wei Laojiu was about to curse at whoever dared block their path, but when he saw it was a house servant, he stopped the carriage and asked, Xiao Hai, why are you here? Why are you blocking the road? Xiao Hai, panting, said, Uncle Jiu, I came on Madame's orders to deliver a message to the Lord. Qingxiu lifted the curtain, confused. What message? Lord, the madam said she doesn't object to your marriage to Madame Chui's niece. Qingxiu was stunned and couldn't help but look up at the sky. Is the sun rising in the west? But it's a cloudy day. What's up with Su Xiaochun today? How did she suddenly change her mind? Not only was she not angry, she even agreed to the match with a smile. Qingxiu was puzzled. That's all? Yes, Lord. That's the only message. Qingxiu asked, do you know why she sent this message? Xiao Hai explained, I was working at the time. After you left, third madam came and talked with the first madam for a while. Then she told me to deliver this. That's all I know. Zhang Sun Pingting? Qingxiu still couldn't figure it out, so he waved his hand and said, all right, got it. You can go back. Yes, Lord. Back in the carriage, Qingxiu had a strange expression. Was this a royal decree to pick up girls? He decided to ask Zhang Sun Pingting later how she persuaded Su Xiaochun to agree to him taking another wife. He arrived at Cheng's residence. Cheng Yaojin opened the main gate himself and welcomed him. Seeing Qingxiu get out with a bundle, he laughed, haha, nephew, you've come all this way. Why bring gifts? That's too formal. Qingxiu smiled faintly and explained, these are cooking spices. Cheng Yaojin was slightly embarrassed but led him into the house. Madame Pei and Madame Cui noticed Cheng had taken Qingxiu to the kitchen and looked curious. When Cheng came out, they went up to him. Husband, we saw you take Lord Qing to the kitchen. Are you entertaining guests in the kitchen? Cheng Yaojin chuckled, don't talk nonsense. He's cooking. Madame Pei and Madame Cui exchanged glances. Madame Cui frowned, husband, you let a respected marquis cook in our home? If word gets out, we'll be laughed at. Cheng Yaojin said unhappily, if you don't say, and I don't say, who will know? That kid's cooking is unmatched, better than anything Eddie made you. You two are in for a treat today. Then he told Madame Cui, wife, go call Yuran and have her walk by the kitchen. Let her and Qing boy meet. Yes, I understand. Madame Cui didn't say more and went to the backyard to find her. Yan Chumo silently came to the kitchen and found Qingxiu busy by himself, while a few other cooks stood around watching, wide-eyed and unable to help. My father is really something. Brother Qing is at least a marquis well known in court, how could my father let such an esteemed guest cook himself? Yan Chumo complained a bit, looking displeased, Brother Qing, wait here, I'll go talk to my father. It's fine. Qingxiu smiled faintly and said, your father didn't intend for me to cook. Yan Chumo was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed in realization, I get it. It's just an excuse to bring you here and match you up with my cousin, haha. Yan Chumo leaned in, winking and nudging, Brother Qing, this is a good thing. Don't be like last time, always refusing. Actually, my cousin may be a widow, but she's quite pretty, she's no less attractive than those sisters-in-law of yours. Qingxiu curled his lip, if you're really that bored, come help me out. Alright. Yan Chumo rolled up his sleeves and started picking vegetables. Before long, soft footsteps were heard outside. Through his god's eye view, Qingxiu noticed a figure wandering nearby. It was the young lady from the Cui family they'd met yesterday. Cui Yuran was dressed in a pale yellow dress today, her gentle appearance making her look even more youthful. She hovered nearby uncertainly, occasionally peeking into the kitchen. Yan Chumo noticed her, his eyes lit up, and he turned to the other cooks and said, you're just idling around anyway, go chop firewood by the woodshed. Without my permission, don't come near the kitchen. Get lost. He gave each cook a kick on the butt on the way out. The cooks were used to this, patted their butts, and left the kitchen. Then suddenly Yan Chumo clutched his belly and groaned, Brother Qing, my stomach's acting up. I'll head to the latrine. You keep going. I'll help again when I'm done. After that, Yan Chumo ran out. Qingxiu had a strange expression. If he's going to the latrine with an upset stomach, why take a basin of vegetables? Is there no toilet paper? Originally, people here used bamboo sticks to wipe after using the latrine. With those, you could practically make sparks fly. But ever since Qingxiu introduced papermaking, every household in Chang'an had switched to grass paper, cheap and good quality, affordable even for commoners. Once Qingxiu saw Yan Chumo run toward Cui Yuran, he understood and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Yan Chumo held the vegetable basin in one hand and his stomach in the other, looking pained, cousin, help me out. Take these vegetables to the kitchen and help Qingxiu a bit. I have to rush to the latrine. He shoved the vegetable basin into Cui Yuran's arms without waiting for her response. Cui Yuran looked flustered. Did she really look like someone who knew how to pick vegetables? She looked around, there wasn't a single servant near the kitchen. Qingxiu smiled slightly from inside and called out theatrically, Yan Chumo, if you're going to the latrine, just go. Leave the vegetables, I need to cook. Cui Yuran stared blankly at the basin in her arms and slowly walked into the kitchen. Here's the basin. Where should I put it? She didn't even know what she was supposed to do. Qingxiu reached out his hand, give it to me. Here you go. Cui Yuran held the basin out with both hands. But Qingxiu's hand reached higher, and as he reached forward, his palm touched something warm and soft. Ah, you. What are you doing? Cui Yuran's face instantly turned red, flustered and angry, taking 2 steps back and trembling like she was shocked. In that brief moment of being touched, Her body went weak, an unfamiliar, strange sensation she had never felt before. Qingxiu quickly said, sorry. I'm blind. I offended you, please forgive me. Cui Yuran took a deep breath, her expression softened a lot. She had heard from her aunt's family that Mr. Qin was blind, so she didn't doubt him much. She placed the vegetable basin on the stove and said, "It's fine, you didn't mean it. Don't feel too guilty. I've put the vegetables on the stove. If you need anything, just let me know, I can help." "Thank you." After Qingxiu thanked her, he began cooking in an orderly manner. Cui Yuran watched him in amazement as he cooked precisely. She suddenly found it strange, was he really blind? He had just accidentally touched her, yet now he was cooking like a perfectly normal person. It was hard to believe. If it weren't for the blindfold over his eyes, she would have thought he saw better than anyone. The rich aroma of food filled the kitchen, prompting Cui Yuran to say, "Smells so good." Qingxiu picked up a stalk of celery with the spatula, pinched it, and handed it over. "Help me check the flavor." What do you mean?" Cui Yuran asked, confused. "Taste it." She took the celery, put it in her mouth, and her eyes lit up. "It tastes amazing, visually appealing, fragrant, and delicious. This is the best celery I've ever eaten." Qingxiu didn't respond, just kept focused on cooking. Cui Yuran kept watching him, and gradually her face turned red. Her gaze fell on Qingxiu's face, and after observing him for a while, she lowered her head and smiled before quietly leaving the kitchen. Back in the courtyard, Madame Cui walked up with a smile and asked, "Well? Do you like the man your aunt chose for you?" Cui Yuran blushed and gave a soft before running off. Madame Cui was overjoyed and immediately went to find Cheng Yaojin. When he heard the news, he laughed heartily. Soon after, the dining table was filled with exquisite dishes. The Cheng family and Qingxiu sat together, and Cheng Yaojin started showing off the beer that Qingxiu had provided, impressing both his wives. After a few rounds of drinks and dishes, Cheng Yaojin set down his bottle and smiled at Qingxiu. "My dear nephew, back to business. My wife's niece, Yuran, likes you. If you've got no objections, I'll write a letter to Qinghe and invite her parents. You don't have parents, and since you call me uncle, I'll arrange your marriage with Chumo's cousin." Cui Yuran pretended not to hear, keeping her head down, her soft face full of shyness. With Su Xiaochun's support, Qingxiu gave in and cupped his hands toward Cheng Yaojin. "Then I'll trouble you, Uncle Cheng." "Haha." Cheng Yaojin laughed and patted Qingxiu's shoulder. "If you're really that impatient, take Yuran home tonight and introduce her to your house. A widow remarrying doesn't need too many formalities. If you two are into each other, I'll marry you off today. Auntie, ngh." Cui Yuran couldn't take it anymore. Letting out a soft groan, she stood up, covered her face, and ran off. Qingxiu had a strange expression. "Wedding night tonight? Sounds good to me." Only someone like Cheng Yaojin with his reckless personality would make such jokes with the younger generation. When Madame Pei saw Cui Yuran run away in shame and anger, she immediately frowned and grabbed Cheng Yaojin's ear, scolding, "Cheng Yaojin, you old rascal. How could you joke like that with the young ones?" Cheng Yaojin, thick-skinned and insensitive to pain, still made a show of grimacing and said, "Wife, that hurts. Let go. I just wanted to get things settled quickly. Besides, it's not a joke, since the two of them like each other, why not become family sooner rather than later? Otherwise, delays bring trouble." Cheng Chumo chimed in, "Mother, father is right. I agree with his view." Madame Pei let go of Cheng Yaojin and said unhappily, "You're not her father. It's not your place to decide. We should wait for the elders of the Cui family to discuss it before making any decisions. Don't speak recklessly like that again." I know. Cheng Yaojin brushed her off carelessly, raised his wine bottle again, and grinned, Come, nephew, let's drink." After food and drinks, they sipped tea for a while. Qingxiu then stood up to take his leave. Cheng Yaojin said to Cheng Chumo, "See your elder brother off." "Okay, Dad. The weather's nice today. I'll stroll around the market with Brother Qin. We won't be back for dinner." Cheng Yaojin lifted his eyelids and glanced at Cheng Chumo, silently pulled out a money pouch, tossed it on the table, and said with a forced smile, "Do you think I don't know what you're up to? Go on, but come back early." Cheng Chumo picked up the pouch, laughed slyly, and left the Cheng residence with Qingxiu. After they left, Cheng Chumo opened the pouch and smiled, "Brother Qin, good thing you came today. Otherwise, my father wouldn't have been this generous, he just gave me dozens of taels of silver. Let's go have some fun?" Qingxiu looked at him with disgust. "Judging by your sleazy face, are you planning to take me to a brothel? You know me so well, Brother Qin. Let's go. It's rare to have a chance like this. I'm getting 3 girls. My mom watches me like a hawk, she won't give me a single copper if she suspects I'm heading to a brothel. Only Dad is this generous. Qingxiu shook his head. You go. I'll pass. Come on, Chang Chumo said urgently. It's no fun going alone. If you don't want a girl, at least listen to some music. Seeing Chang Chumo's sincere expression, Qingxiu nodded in agreement. Nothing else to do today, might as well enjoy some music at a pleasure house. The two arrived at Shikong Alley and chose a place called Chuanxue House. Chuanxue House was the most luxurious brothel in Shikong Alley. Chang Chumo whispered mysteriously, if Brother Qing wants to hear good music, Chuanxue House is the only choice. Oh? Qingxiu asked with curiosity. Why is that? Chang Chumo explained, Chuanxue House is owned by the Imperial Clan Office, it's a government-run brothel. Besides the madam and staff, almost all the girls here come from wealthy families. Some are from scholarly families, others from high-ranking officials. At the very least, they're daughters of rich merchants. These girls were either implicated by crimes at home or suffered collective punishment and sent here. Only a few are from fallen households seeking livelihood. So, in the whole of Shikong Alley, the girls at Chuanxue House are the most beautiful, delicate and fair like spring snow. That's how it got its name. Of course, the prices are sky high. Just one night with a girl starts at 50 taels. The reason I said you must come here to hear music is because these girls with criminal records are all highly skilled in arts like music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Their voices, whether singing or moaning, can steal your soul. Come, Brother Qing, let's really enjoy ourselves today. Chang Chumo dragged Qingxiu by the sleeve toward Chuanxue House. Just then, a familiar voice called from nearby, Yo, isn't that Lord Qing? What refined taste? Chang Chumo frowned and looked over. When he saw who it was, he quickly bowed and said, This young one, Chang Chumo, greets Duke Wei. Indeed, it was Li Jing. By Li Jing's side were two attendants and a girl dressed in white martial attire. She looked about 17, with delicate features, a pretty face, and a heroic aura. She frowned, eyes full of disdain. Qingxiu cupped his hands and said, Duke Wei. This humble marquis is free today and came to enjoy some music and uplift the spirit. Where is Duke Wei heading this fine morning? The girl beside Li Jing curled her lip, her disdain grew even stronger. Li Jing said a bit gloomily, I'm heading to the military camp. Passed by here and just happened to run into you, so I came to say hello. Qingxiu noticed Li Jing's somber mood and asked, Duke Wei seems troubled. Is there a problem in the camp? Li Jing sighed, alas, you may not know. The weather's cooling, and cavalry training has started again. Since they're new recruits, many warhorses are getting injured. Nearly dozens retire every day. I'm going to the camp to check the wounded horses and report to His Majesty, see if we can get more replacements. Qingxiu asked in confusion, training cavalry results in this many injured horses? Isn't that a bit too harsh, Duke Wei? The girl beside Li Jing frowned and said, What do you know? How can training cavalry not injure horses? They gallop every day, stepping on sharp things is unavoidable. Hoof injuries are common. She added in a low voice, Father, let's go. No point wasting time with playboys like them. Chang Chumo frowned but said nothing. Li Jing glared at the girl, then turned to Qingxiu and said, I won't disturb your refined fun any longer. Farewell. With that, Li Jing left with the girl. Qingxiu was puzzled, hoof injuries? Doesn't he know to put shoes on horses? What was that, Brother Qing? Chang Chumo didn't hear and asked casually. Qingxiu shook his head, nothing. Who's the girl with Duke Wei? She seemed to really dislike us. Chang Chumo curled his lip, that's Li Jing's daughter, Li Yingqi. She doesn't just dislike us, she looks down on every spoiled noble brat in Chang'an, especially those who visit brothels. She's always playing with swords and spears. A few times, she even dressed as a man and sneaked into the army to fight. Every time, Li Jing dragged her back. She's beaten up Chang Sun Chong, Li Chongyi, Fang Yai, Du He, and Xiao Rui. Qingxiu's mouth twitched, and you? Me? Chang Chumo had a flicker of embarrassment, coughed twice, and said, Of course not. She can't beat me. Qingxiu didn't press, but judging from Chang Chumo's awkward look, he'd probably been beaten the worst. The madam of Chuanxue House was not as enthusiastic as those in other brothels. That was because those who came here daily were all high-status individuals, either nobles or royalty, including members of foreign royal families from smaller nations. Chang Chumo had gone upstairs with a delicate and pretty girl to enjoy himself, while Qingxiu was arranged by an attendant to sit in a viewing area on a half-floor high platform, where several scantily clad young women were dancing gracefully. Beside them, musicians with beautiful faces played the pipa and sang some famous sensual songs, with applause and whistles frequently coming from below the stage. Besides Tang people, there were also quite a few foreigners chattering noisily. There were even people speaking Korean? Qingxiu looked toward a nearby table where guests were speaking Korean. These Koreans all dressed almost identically, white hemp clothing with black collars and cuffs. Goryeo people? Qingxiu guessed that these were Goguryeo people from the Liaodong region. It wasn't that Koreans didn't like wearing colored clothing, rather, due to living in a harsh, impoverished land, their attire mainly consisted of black and white. But wasn't Goguryeo a sworn enemy of the Tang dynasty? Why were there Goryeo people here? Qingxiu was still wondering when he suddenly understood, because he saw Tang Jian, the minister of the court of diplomatic reception. At this moment, Tang Jian also noticed Qingxiu. Tang Jian's face instantly turned dark as the bottom of a pot. After speaking a string of gibberish with the Goryeo people, he walked over. Tang Jian came up and said sarcastically, "Lord Qing really has refined taste, coming to Chuanxue House to enjoy some music. You've really caused me a lot of trouble." Qingxiu asked in confusion, "Minister of Ju, we hardly interact, how have I caused you trouble?" Tang Jian huffed and glared, "Didn't you give me a glazed aquamarine bead not long ago? When I gifted it to my wife, she praised it endlessly and treasured it deeply. But what happened in the end? In less than 2 months, those beads are all over the place. Their price dropped from tens of thousands of coins to just a few. Even commoners' children have one. Now my wife argues with me every day because of this." Qingxiu chuckled, "Minister Ju, don't talk nonsense. What does this have to do with me? I never told you how valuable it was, you bragged about it yourself." "No way." Tang Jian shook his head seriously and said with a straight face, "You must take responsibility. At least treat me to a drink, or else I won't feel at ease." Qingxiu laughed heartily and pulled out a few gold beans, slapping them on the table. Tang Jian immediately beamed and pocketed the gold beans. Seeing this, Qingxiu kept curling his lip. If this were in modern times, Tang Jian would have definitely been double investigated, at least a life sentence. Still, Qingxiu liked dealing with people like Tang Jian, flawed talents were easy to handle. Like Tang Jian, greedy for small gains. Qingxiu gestured with his mouth and asked in a low voice, "What's going on over there? Isn't Goguryeo a sworn enemy of the Tang? They haven't sent tribute for years. Why are they here now?" Tang Jian explained in a low voice, "Not just Goryeo. All the Gusthouses hosting foreign envoys at the court of diplomatic reception are full, Goryeo people, Silla people, Beach people, and even short people who sailed across the sea from the Yamato kingdom. Oh, and there are Tibetans too. Short people from the Yamato kingdom who crossed the sea?" Qingxiu frowned, his expression turning cold. "People from the island country? That's right, during the Tang dynasty, Japan was called the Yamato kingdom. Its current ruler was Emperor Shotoku. Just thinking about that country brought to Qingxiu's mind the Iwami silver mine, which was exploited since the Ming dynasty and for over 400 years without being depleted. That was a mountain of silver, containing 1/3 of the world's silver reserves." Tang Jian continued, "They're all envoys. In a few days, it'll be the Mid-Autumn Festival. These foreign countries are here to pay tribute. But these Goryeo people, they aren't here to offer tribute. They have another purpose." Qingxiu asked with interest, "What purpose?" Tang Jian glanced at the Goryeo table, then at Qingxiu, and finally shook his head. "Matters between two nations aren't something we officials can discuss. So, I can't tell you." Qingxiu studied the Goryeo guests closely. Among them was a young man with sharp, handsome features and an impressive presence. He had 2 swords at his waist and 4 on his back. His gaze was as sharp as an eagle's. Perhaps sensing someone watching him, the Goryeo youth looked over. Qingxiu smiled faintly and said to Tang Jian, "Even if you don't tell me, I already know." Tang Jian scoffed, "How could you know about Goryeo's internal affairs? Even I only know the surface." Qingxiu smiled, "Minister of Ju, isn't the leader of this Goryeo delegation Yun Gaesaman?" Tang Jian's eyes widened in disbelief. "You, how do you know?" Tang Jian was shocked. "These Goryeo people only arrived in Chang'an this morning. I only figured out their identities an hour ago, and you already know the name of their leader." Qingxiu replied mysteriously, "Not only do I know it's Yun Gaesaman, I also know Goryeo has internal political problems. That's why they came to Chang'an." Tang Jian stared at him in horror. Qingxiu said, "Minister Ju, don't be so shocked." Tang Jian said weirdly, "How can I not be shocked? Tell me, how do you know?" Qingxiu laughed, "If I told you I can divine things, would you believe it?" "I would." Tang Jian nodded seriously. "If anyone else said it, I'd never believe it. But coming from you, Qingxiu, I believe it completely." "All right." Qingxiu grinned, "Then just assume I figured it out through divination." Tang Jian wanted to ask more but stopped himself. Qingxiu changed the topic and asked, "What did these envoys bring as tribute?" He was just casually asking, but Tang Jian excitedly replied, listing them off like a treasure inventory. Tibet sent heavenly pearls, agates, cattle, and sheep from the plateau. Beekj and the Yamato kingdom are too poor, they brought worthless items. As for Silla, they're quite interesting. Even though they're poor, they brought a lot of gold, silver, and jewelry. And leading their delegation is none other than King Jinpyong's beloved daughter, showing that Silla is truly sincere. After speaking, Tang Jian joked, "Didn't you say you could divine? If you can name the daughter of King Jinpyong from Silla, I'll truly admire you." Qingxiu had a strange expression. "I guess, the daughter of King Jinpyong is named Kim Deokman." Tang Jian spat out his drink, looking at Qingxiu in disbelief, his lips trembling. King Jinpyong of Silla, wasn't he known for not having an heir? In the end, he passed the throne to his only daughter, Kim Deokman, also known as the famous Queen Seondeok. Qingxiu had even watched a theater drama named after her. Tang Jian was in turmoil inside and now completely believed that Qingxiu could predict the future. TSK, incredible, truly incredible, Tang Jian said with admiration on his face. Lord Qing is indeed a divine figure, able to predict the names of the Goryeo and Silla envoys. Truly magical, truly magical. Qingxiu's mouth twitched. Was there a possibility that I just knew their names all along? Yun Gaesaman was no small figure. Anyone who knew some Tang history would know that he was like a god of war in Goguryeo. Many famous Tang generals died at his hands. The famous generals who came out of Wagong Fort were nearly wiped out by Yun Gaesaman alone. This included the well-known Qi Guayuan, Tsiu Tong, Niu Jinda, Yu Qinan, Yu Qibei, Zhang Gongjin, Lu Hongji. These prominent generals all ended up killed by Yun Gaesaman. It clearly showed how powerful Yun Gaesaman was in battle. Because of this, he was known as the greatest war god in Goguryeo's history. But eventually, he still couldn't beat the Tang dynasty's war god Shuiren Gue and was forced to commit suicide by the sea. He was a dangerous figure who could pose a huge threat to the Tang dynasty in the future. He absolutely could not be left alive. From not far away, Yun Gaesaman seemed to sense a murderous aura and sharply looked over, frowning hard. Strange, where was that killing intent coming from? Could it be that I felt wrong? Probably just exhaustion from long travels. Yun Gaesaman didn't take it seriously. Tang Jian and Qingxiu exchanged a few more pleasantries and were about to take their leave when a commotion broke out nearby. The source of the disturbance was a group of odd-looking dwarfs. These dwarfs wore clothes with bare chests and bellies exposed, their heads shaved except for a small tuft of hair on the crown tied into a topknot. They were all very short. The tallest was only about 1.5 meters, most were under that. Their attire looked exactly like the Japanese pirates in historical dramas. There were 7 or 8 of them surrounding a young lady, yelling in Japanese. Yoshi, wadashi wa tu yoruda? Ahaha, ikanade. Wara wara. The group of Japanese pirates had lewd smiles on their faces, their lustful eyes fixed on the girl. When Qingxiu saw the young lady clearly, his expression changed instantly. He grabbed his blind cane and rushed forward. Lord Qing, what are you doing? Tang Jian was shocked by Qingxiu's aggressive aura and quickly followed after him. But before Tang Jian could catch up, Qingxiu had already reached the group of Japanese pirates. Without hesitation, he drew the blade from his cane and slashed casually. 6 of them had their throats cut. The remaining 2 turned pale instantly, their drunken expression sobering up in an instant. They collapsed to the ground, trembling in terror at the sight of their companions' corpses. Tang Jian's vision darkened. He slapped his thigh and cried out, Lord Qing, why did you kill them? They're envoys from the Yamato kingdom. If His Majesty finds out you've killed foreign envoys without cause, he'll surely be furious. From a distance, Yun Gaesaman's pupils contracted as he gripped the 2 swords on his left waist. Just from those few slashes of the blindfolded youth killing the pirates, he could tell this man was a top-tier swordsman. It reminded him of the murderous intent he felt earlier. Qingxiu ignored Tang Jian and instead supported the pale and unsteady girl, frowning as he asked, Jiang Yener, what are you doing in a place like this? And what have you done to yourself? Are you sick? Yes, this young lady was Jiang Yener, Jiang Huai's sister. Jiang Yener looked pale and weak. When Qingxiu first saw her, she was leaning against a pillar, barely able to stand, as if she might collapse any moment. She looked extremely fragile. Jiang Yener glanced at Qingxiu. Her pale face suddenly flushed with 2 patches of red, then her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Qingxiu checked her pulse. Fortunately, it was still strong, and her life wasn't in danger. He had learned pulse diagnosis from Sun Simiao out of boredom and had developed some skill. Qingxiu picked her up and went to find the madam of Chuanxue house, the one who had received Cheng Chumo earlier. Upon reaching her, he handed over a pouch of gold beans and said, go find a doctor nearby to take a look at her. But the madam didn't take the pouch. Instead, she smiled faintly and said, young master, don't worry. This young lady is fine. After resting and nourishing herself, she'll be lively again in half a month. Qingxiu asked in confusion, how do you know? The madam explained, this young lady has come to Chuanxue house several times recently. Her purpose is clear, she came here for sealing. Sealing? Qingxiu's expression changed. As someone who had transmigrated, he naturally knew what sealing meant. It referred to forcibly damaging a woman's lower abdomen to render her infertile. Almost all brothel women underwent this procedure. It was an extremely cruel method that drastically shortened a woman's lifespan. Most would die around 40. If well maintained, reaching 50 would already be considered long-lived. The madam seemed worried that Qingxiu didn't understand, so she leaned in and whispered, sealing means using external force to make a woman lose the ability to get pregnant. Qingxiu asked seriously, did she volunteer for this? The madam frowned, what are you saying? Could we force her to undergo sealing? We only perform sealing on our own girls. We wouldn't easily do this for outsiders. If something went wrong, we'd be responsible for her life. If she hadn't begged us with pitiful words, paid a lot, and written a guarantee, how could we possibly perform sealing on an outsider? Qingxiu took a deep breath and asked, what did she say? The madam sighed, she's a foolishly devoted one. She said her family's bloodline is tainted, and most children born are deformed. She fell for a blind man, but that man doesn't like her because of her bloodline. She feared accidentally getting pregnant and giving birth to a monster, so she came here to be sealed. Qingxiu was shaken and looked down at the unconscious Jiang Yener. Foolish girl, such a foolish girl. Although he didn't have romantic feelings for Jiang Yener, they had known each other for almost half a year. Every time they met, they'd only exchange a few words, at most some playful teasing. He thought she would live carefree in Sanha village forever. He never expected she would take such an extreme step. No wonder every time they parted, she would show traces of helplessness and reluctance. That was the expression of love she couldn't attain. That blind man isn't you, is it? The madam covered her mouth, showing an extremely shocked expression. Qingxiu couldn't be bothered to respond. He carried Jiang Yener and walked out. Tang Jian chased after him, crying out bitterly, Lord Qing, why did you kill them all? These were envoys from the Yamato kingdom who came with Prince Yamabe Dao. You killed them, His Majesty will definitely be furious. You, just wait to be impeached by the censors. Qingxiu said, Minister of Ju, I'll explain everything to His Majesty. Please help clean up the bodies. After speaking, Qingxiu didn't forget to kick a trembling Japanese envoy nearby. This man, only about 1.4 meters tall, was sent flying more than 10 meters by the powerful kick. While still in the air, he spat a mouthful of blood, then crashed heavily onto the table where Yun Geiseman was seated. The man twitched a few times, then died. Yun Geiseman took a sharp breath, his face filled with horror as he stared at the departing figure. Tang Dynasty has such a divine being? Better not provoke him, absolutely not. Wei Laojiu saw Qingxiu walking out of the brothel with a young lady in his arms and quickly came to meet him. He was about to speak when he noticed that the woman in Qingxiu's arms looked familiar. Taking a closer look, he recognized her as Jiang Yener. Wei Laojiu exclaimed, Lord, why is Miss Yener in a brothel? What happened to her? I'll explain on the way. Qingxiu lifted the carriage curtain and placed Jiang Yener inside. He was just about to get on and leave when a sharp shout came from nearby, scoundrel. Let go of that girl. Who now? Qingxiu looked and saw a girl in white martial attire coming over angrily. It was none other than Liingqi, daughter of Li Jing. Liingqi walked up, pointing her sheathed sword at Qingxiu, scolding, You, a dignified state-stabilizing marquis, had your fun in a brothel and now want to take a girl back for more? Truly shameless. Today, I must stand up for justice. Qingxiu's mouth twitched and his face darkened. Miss Li, you must not have seen much of society's darkness, have you? Stop talking nonsense. Liingqi took a step forward, full of anger. Let go of that unconscious girl. Or I won't be polite. Even if it reaches His Majesty, I'll be in the right. Wei Laojiu frowned and said, Miss Li, you've misunderstood. The girl in the carriage is our Lord's friend. Qingxiu also said with some annoyance, She's my friend. She suddenly fell ill. I'm taking her to a doctor. Step aside now. If you delay her treatment, I won't be polite, not even if your father comes. Nonsense. Liingqi said indignantly, You came with Cheng Chumo, and no decent girl goes to a brothel. Unless you prove she's your friend, you're not taking her. How did Li Jing raise someone this pig-headed? Qingxiu was so angry he laughed. Then he dove into the carriage and said to Wei Laojiu, Let's go. If she dares block us, run her over. Got it. Wei Laojiu flicked the reins and gently whipped the horse. The carriage began to move. Lawless. Kidnapping women. How dare you, aren't you a state marquis? You're just like the rest of the scoundrels. Stop. I said stop. Li Yingqi grabbed the reins and forcefully pulled, bringing the carriage to a stop. Qingxiu said coldly, Laojiu, don't be polite. If she acts up again, kill her. With people this unreasonable and rash, who act without listening or thinking, Qingxiu had no intention of showing courtesy. Wei Laojiu had been hesitant because she was Li Jing's daughter, but after Qingxiu's order, his confidence surged. He raised his horsewhip and lashed out. But Li Yingqi dodged it, then suddenly drew her sword and sliced the whip in two. Your sword's fast, but let's see if your sword's faster than my blade. Wei Laojiu, now furious, drew his tang sword, jumped off the carriage, and swung the back of his blade at her. But Li Yingqi was agile as a swallow, easily dodging. Her speed shocked Wei Laojiu. You dare fight me? Li Yingqi shouted, then kicked Wei Laojiu's rear. He crashed to the ground in a heap. Hiss! Wei Laojiu gasped, his face flushed with shame, beaten by a teenage girl? He felt utterly humiliated. Inside the carriage, Qingxiu frowned, he didn't expect Li Yingqi to be this skilled. She was on par with Dan Xiaoro. No wonder, she was trained by Hong Fu Nu. Li Yingqi likely inherited Hong Fu Nu's character too. Wei Laojiu, enraged and humiliated, let out a roar and rushed forward again. But soon, another kick landed on his butt, and he went flying, legs in the air. Lord? I can't beat her, Wei Laojiu shouted in shame and frustration. Useless. You damn useless thing. Qingxiu cursed, jumped out of the carriage, and approached Li Yingqi with his blind cane. Li Yingqi arrogantly lifted her chin and sneered, What? You want to fight me too? Even your bodyguard is no match, what can a weak noble like you do? Qingxiu's face was blank as he thrust his cane at her. If it hit, it might have pierced through her. Li Yingqi's expression changed. She twisted her body and narrowly dodged. Thick and fast, what a stick. Thank heavens I dodged. That could have killed me. Knowing Qingxiu was a master, she didn't dare take him lightly. Just as she prepared to counterattack, she felt a sharp pain in her shoulder. He had already grabbed her. She suddenly lost balance and flew into the air. Ah, she screamed, face pale, eyes shut in fear. But she didn't feel pain from landing, instead, her belly rested on a leg. Opening her eyes, she saw the blind man standing on one leg, the other supporting her slender body. What are you going to do? A bad feeling welled up inside her. Qingxiu raised his hand and smacked her firm buttocks, muttering, For causing trouble, for meddling in injustice, for drawing your sword without thinking, for being reckless, today, I'll discipline you properly for your father. Smack. One smack after another fell. Li Yingqi cried out, struggling nonstop. But no matter how she struggled, she couldn't break free. Soon, her resistance faded. She stopped shouting and lowered her head, biting her lip. By now, her face was completely red, and her eyes brimmed with tears. Although Li Yingqi was a bit reckless, she was still Li Jing's daughter. Qingxiu saw Li Jing often, so he couldn't go too far. After smacking her but for a while, he finally let her down. But Li Yingqi couldn't stand, her legs went weak, and she collapsed directly to the ground. If it weren't for your father Li Jing's sake, I would have cut you down with one stroke. Completely unreasonable. If you dare cause trouble again, I'll beat your butt until it blooms. Qingxiu cursed a few times, got in the carriage, and told Wei Laojiu to drive. Wei Laojiu took the reins and drove them out of Pingkong Alley. Li Yingqi's face was flushed red, her lips and eyelashes trembling. She looked at the carriage that was already far away and muttered, How did this happen? Why can't I lift a bit of strength? When he was spanking me just now. Her delicate face showed a trace of embarrassed anger. She nervously glanced around and forced herself to get up. Just then, a group of people came out of Chuanxue House. When she saw the man leading them, Li Yingqi was slightly surprised and stepped forward to bow. Greetings, Uncle Tang. Tang Jian was in a foul mood, but he still forced a smile and nodded, Ah, it's Yingqi. Give my regards to your father. I'll visit sometime soon. Li Yingqi looked at the corpses being carried out of Chuanxue House in shock and asked, Uncle Tang, what happened to these people? Sigh. Tang Jian waved his hand in frustration. Don't even ask. That Lord Qing is too reckless, he killed so many foreign envoys in broad daylight. These people were killed by the state-stabilizing marquis. Li Yingqi widened her eyes. Why? Why did he kill them? No harm telling you, Tang Jian explained. Those foreign envoys were harassing a girl earlier. But that girl happened to be a friend of Lord Qing. In a fit of rage, he killed them all. Nisingqi, I can't chat. I need to go report this to His Majesty. Tang Jian then led his people away from Pingkong Alley. Li Yingqi was stunned. Her face flushed again, and she wished she could crawl into a hole. So he really did know that girl? So he was also standing up for justice. Oh my God, he even dared kill foreign envoys, this is just so cool. Li Yingqi was inexplicably excited, and 5 words floated through her mind: he got angry for a beauty. At the Qing residence, Su Xiaochun, Yun Yang, Zhang Sun Pingting, Li Yuqing, Lu Yunyan, and Li Yuchan all gathered around when they saw Qingxiu carrying a girl into the back courtyard. Husband, this is? Su Xiaochun looked puzzled. Is this Sister Yenner? Yun Yang was also shocked. Li Yuqing looked at the unconscious Jiang Yenner and asked with concern, Husband, what happened to Miss Yenner? Lu Yunyan chimed in, why is she in such a state? Qingxiu replied, let's talk inside. After going inside, Qingxiu placed Jiang Yenner on the bed. Li Yuqing went over and took her pulse. After examining, she said, her pulse is a bit weak, but she's not in serious danger. Husband, wasn't she supposed to be in Sanha village? How did she end up with you? Yes, husband. Su Xiaochun added, weren't you visiting the Chang residence? How did you end up with Jiang Yenner? The wives all started asking questions. Qingxiu explained, here's what happened. After the meal at the Chang residence, Cheng Yaojin took us to Chuanxue house to listen to music. I happened to run into her there, and she was already like this when I saw her. Qingxiu was cautious not to say it was Cheng Chumo who took him to the brothel, or he'd have to explain more. As expected, when he said Cheng Yaojin was leading, no one paid it much mind. In their minds, Cheng Yaojin was an elder. How could an elder take juniors to a brothel? Su Xiaochun asked with a strange expression, why would Jiang Yenner go to a brothel? That's a long story, Qingxiu said with a bitter smile. Wait until she wakes up, you can ask her yourselves. Su Xiaochun pouted, look at her, she won't wake up for a while. Even if she does, she'll be too weak to talk. Why don't you just tell us directly? Sigh. Qingxiu sighed, it's kind of my fault too. What's it got to do with husband? The women all blinked, puzzled. Qingxiu smiled bitterly, let me put it simply, Jiang Yenner comes from a hidden sect. Aunt Yuqing and Yunyan know this best. Li Yuqing and Lu Yunyan both nodded. Qingxiu continued, in order to become immortals, hidden sects often practice close-kin marriages. That violates the natural order, so many children born have deformities, some with 3 eyes, 8 legs, 4 mouths, or even 5. Cough cough. Everyone's face turned red with disgust. Qingxiu went on, so Jiang Yenner was born of close relatives, and any children she has are likely to be deformed too. Actually. He looked around and said, actually, Jiang Yenner likes me. She's like me since before she arrived in Sanha village. Oh, I knew that, Li Yuqing nodded. Lu Yunyan nodded too, I noticed it as well. Su Xiaochun calmly said, I saw it too. The way she looked at you was different, just like how I used to look at you. I've known Jiang Yenner liked you for a while. Qingxiu was dumbfounded, you all knew? She practically had it written on her face. Who couldn't tell? Zhang Sun Pingting said with disdain. Yun Yang covered her mouth and giggled. Li Yuchan urged, husband, keep going, we're listening. Qingxiu said helplessly, because of this, I kept my distance. But I didn't expect this silly girl would somehow learn that brothel women lose the ability to have children after undergoing sealing, so she went to Chuanxue house to do it. Sealing? Su Xiaochun's face changed. How could she be so stupid? Such a foolish girl. Doesn't she care about her life? Yun Yang looked at the unconscious, pale Jiang Yenner with pain on her face. Zhang Sun Pingting covered her mouth in fear. Li Yuqing and Lu Yunyan gasped. Since they often visited red light areas, they knew what sealing meant. My God, she's risking her life, Li Yuchan said, full of admiration. Qingxiu shrugged, so, that's the situation. Su Xiaochun said sadly, she really is a devoted girl. Just to be with husband, she went that far. Husband, since Miss Yenner likes you so much, even to the point of risking her life, why not take her in too? Otherwise, she went through all that pain for nothing. That Su Xiaochun could say such a thing made it a win-win for Qingxiu. Who would have thought that Jiang Yenner, someone who barely had a presence, would suddenly do something like this? Jiang Yenner's pitiful appearance now made all the women present feel deeply sympathetic and also very distressed. Su Xiaochun looked at Qingxiu, pouted, and complained, I really don't know what's so good about you. Jiang Yenner actually risked her life just to ease your worries. Sigh, such a silly girl. At this moment, a servant's voice came from outside. My lord, someone from the palace has arrived. It's an envoy sent by His Majesty. His Majesty wants you to enter the palace as soon as possible. I understand, Qingxiu replied and then instructed everyone, take care of Jiang Yenner. I need to make a trip to the palace. Su Xiaochun asked, husband, His Majesty has been summoning you to the palace frequently. Did something major happen? Not really, Qingxiu casually said. Back at Chuanxue Pavilion, some foreign envoys bullied Miss Yenner, so I killed them all. Oh. Su Xiaochun nodded, but then suddenly trembled and exclaimed in shock, what? You killed the foreign envoys? This, husband, this is not a joke. Zhang Sun Pingting was so frightened her face turned pale. The other women also looked worried. Qingxiu shook his head with a smile and said, it's fine, just a few little islanders. Killing them is no big deal. His Majesty won't blame me. He summoned me for other matters. Just take good care of Jiang Yener. I'm heading to the palace now. With that, Qingxiu left the Qing residence for the palace. Su Xiaochun and the others all knew that Qingxiu said that just so they wouldn't worry too much. Zhang Sun Pingting paced a few times and said worriedly, this won't do. I need to return to my parents' home and ask my father to go to the palace and inquire. Even in war, messengers are not to be harmed. But husband killed several foreign envoys at once. His Majesty must be furious. Su Xiaochun urged, then hurry, and let us know as soon as you hear anything. Shortly after Zhang Sun Pingting left, Jiang Yener woke up. Her fairy-like face was pale. Seeing so many people gathered by her bedside, she struggled to sit up and asked blankly, where am I? Li Yuqing quickly supported her and said, lie down quickly, your body is weak. You shouldn't exert yourself. Su Xiaochun said, this is our marquis residence in Chang'an. I remember now. Jiang Yener's eyes reddened in excitement, and she anxiously asked, where's Mr. Qin? Quickly get him out of Chang'an, or it'll be too late. Ah? Su Xiaochun was surprised, too late for what? The other women also looked at each other. Jiang Yener, with a tearful voice, said, before I passed out, I saw Mr. Qin kill many foreign envoys. Killing envoys is a serious crime. His Majesty won't let Mr. Qin off easily. Su Xiaochun said helplessly, if only you had woken up earlier, you could have warned him. But now it's too late. Mr. Qin is dead. Jiang Yener trembled, her face turning even paler. Her vision darkened, and she almost fainted again. Li Yuqing said with mixed tears and laughter, he's not dead. He's perfectly fine. You should take care of yourself before worrying about others. Su Xiaochun quickly added, don't worry. My husband is fine. He just went to the palace. He'll be back soon. Jiang Yener realized no one else was worried, and only she was being anxious. She also didn't know in what capacity she should be worrying about Mr. Qin. Even though her heart was full of anxiety, she had no choice but to lie down quietly. Su Xiaochun sat by the bed and sighed, Miss Yener, you really are too silly. How could you undergo confinement therapy? Don't you know how many women suffer or even die from that every year? Jiang Yener didn't know what to say. Lu Yunyan was the closest to Jiang Yener in private. Jiang Yener would often dine with Lu Yunyan and Shan Xiaoro and sometimes even share a bed and chat about everything. Lu Yunyan, looking heartbroken, said, Yener, you silly girl. We all know who you went into confinement therapy for. Jiang Yener quickly shook her head, I was afraid of having a deformed child in the future. I did the therapy for myself. As she spoke, she nervously glanced at Su Xiaochun and Yunyang. Yunyang smiled slightly without saying anything. Su Xiaochun gently nodded to Lu Yunyan. Lu Yunyan then said, stop hiding it. We all know you did it for Mr. Qin. Don't be nervous. With us here, we won't let you suffer. If he doesn't take full responsibility for you, we won't let him off. Su Xiaochun snorted, exactly. I really don't know what's so good about that blind husband of mine, making Miss Yener willing to risk her life for him. If he dares not treat you well, I'll teach him a lesson for you. Though Su Xiaochun said that, she felt bitter inside. She could accept Li Yuqing and Lu Yunyan, these older women, so she had no reason to reject Jiang Yener. If word got out that a woman did confinement therapy for the Marquis of Zhenghua but was kicked out by the main wife, she would lose face. Also, saying this would lessen Jiang Yener's psychological burden. Since she had already chosen to accept Jiang Yener, Su Xiaochun would accept her to the end. Jiang Yener's eyes filled with tears, and she sobbed softly, I'm sorry. I didn't plan to tell anyone, but I didn't expect you all to find out. Su Xiaochun waved her hand, enough. Don't be so emotional. Just stay here and recover. When you're better, we'll let my husband take you in. Yunyang, let's go to the kitchen and tell the chef to make some nutritious food. Okay. Yunyang responded and followed Su Xiaochun to the kitchen. After Su Xiaochun left, she sighed and shook her head. Yunyang, who knew Su Xiaochun best, gently comforted her. In the Hall of Supreme Harmony. There was no morning court today, so the hall seemed a bit empty. Aside from Li Er and Empress Zhang Sun, there were also Tang Jian and a few short foreigners from island nations. Subject greets your majesty and the empress. Qingxiu bowed to Li Er and Zhang Sun. The short islanders were whispering nervously, and one of them looked at Qingxiu with fear. He was the sole survivor from Chuanxue Pavilion. Li Er stood up from the dragon throne and threw an inkstone, but it landed far from Qingxiu. After throwing the inkstone, Li Er angrily shouted, Marquis Qin. Why did you kill foreign envoys without reason? Empress, don't stop me, don't stop. Li Er fumbled around the table looking for something to throw, mumbling to himself. Empress Zhangxuan's face turned red and her mouth twitched as she quickly stopped Li Er. Your Majesty, calm down, calm down. Tang Jian was dumbfounded. Wasn't this act too obvious? Such a big man, standing so close, and still managed to miss with the inkstone? Although Tang Jian immediately realized the emperor and empress were acting, the foreign envoys believed it. The lead envoy even looked smugly proud. Li Er looked very angry, at least that's what the envoys from the island nation believed. Li Er threw a tantrum for a while, then, exhausted, sat down on the dragon throne, panting, and asked, Marquis Qing, why did you kill the envoys from the Yamato kingdom? Give me a reasonable explanation. Empress Zhangxun also looked at Qingxiu with a scrutinizing gaze. Qingxiu cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, this afternoon I went to Chuanxue Pavilion to listen to music. Several envoys from the Yamato kingdom were harassing a young lady, speaking obscene and vulgar words. Coincidentally, that lady is a friend of mine. In a fit of anger, I killed several of the Yamato envoys. Li Er frowned and said, The Yamato envoys came from afar as guests. Even if they behaved badly, the crime is not punishable by death. They came to pay tribute. As emperor, I must give them an explanation for this matter, or it will be difficult to calm things down and gain their respect for the Tang dynasty. Qingxiu sternly asked, Why should your Majesty give them an explanation? Shouldn't it be them giving us one? Li Er asked in surprise, Why do you say that? Qingxiu raised his voice and said, The Grand Tang dynasty, with all nations coming to pay tribute, since they have come to the Tang dynasty, they must obey Tang laws. A tiny island country, just a speck on the map, with uncivilized people and barbaric customs, when we give them face, they take more and more. The more we give in, the more they take advantage. Tang doesn't need admiration, Tang needs fear and awe. If your Majesty gives a small and insignificant country an explanation, others will think Tang is weak and elevate that petty nation status. This is extremely inappropriate. Li Er muttered to himself, Tang doesn't need admiration, Tang needs fear and awe, well said. Empress Zhangxun softly said, Your Majesty, Marquis Qing is right. We don't need to give a barbaric country any explanation. It is they who should give us one. These foreign envoys insulted our Tang people. Marquis Qing stood up for us, he was not wrong. Li Er nodded and looked coldly at the Yamato envoys, then said to Tang Jian, Duke of Zhu, translate my words for them. Tang Jian quickly cupped his hands, Please speak, Your Majesty. Li Er said, This small foreign country ignored Tang's laws and openly harassed women. According to Tang law, they should be executed. The corners of Tang Jian's mouth twitched, and he translated for the Yamato envoys. The Yamato envoys turned pale and trembled with fear after hearing this. They all fell to the ground, begging for mercy in a panic. Li Er nodded in satisfaction and continued, Since it's their first offense, the death penalty will be waived. They will be confined in the Honglu Temple until the Mid-Autumn Grand Court Assembly. Tang Jian translated again. Only then did the Yamato envoys breathe a sigh of relief, kneeling and repeatedly kowtowing in gratitude. Seeing this, Li Er was extremely surprised and said, Marquis Qing was spot on. These barbarians from the Yamato kingdom, the less you treat them like humans, the more they fear and respect you. The more polite you are, the more they take advantage. This is completely different from other foreign countries. Qingxiu said, Your Majesty should treat all equally, spreading the prestige of Tang across the seas so all nations fear and respect Tang. Li Er nodded, I will remember that. Tang Jian, take them away. Yes, Your Majesty. Tang Jian took all the Yamato envoys out of the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Li Er asked with interest, Marquis Qing, I heard from Tang Jian that you not only figured out that the Goguryeo envoy was Yun Geisaman, but also that the Silla envoy was Princess Xiandik. Can you really predict things? Qingxiu secretly cursed Tang Jian for having a big mouth. But on the surface, he smiled and said, Your Majesty, don't listen to Tang Jian's nonsense. I was just messing with him. I only heard that Goguryeo had a very skilled young man who carried 2 swords. That day at Chuanxue Pavilion, I saw a young man with 2 swords, so I guessed it was Yun Geisaman. I didn't expect to guess right. Li Er squinted his eyes and smiled, Marquis Qing, you can't see. How did you know Yun Geisaman had 2 swords? Qingxiu was stunned and suddenly felt he had miscalculated. Well, my eyes are almost healed. Qingxiu had to make up an excuse, saying his eyesight was recovering, otherwise, Li Er might make him predict the fate of the nation, and that would be a real trap. Oh? Li Er was overjoyed, Marquis Qing, your eyes are healing? Qingxiu had no choice but to nod, I can see some outlines now, not as good as a normal person, but still a good thing. That's truly something to celebrate. Earlier, you said Yun Gaesaman was very skilled. This is the first I've heard of such a figure in Goguryeo. Tell me, what's special about him? Chingxiu said, I only heard that Yun Gaesaman is excellent with the sword and good at military strategy, a very formidable Goguryeo general. Your Majesty, he might become a strong enemy of the Tang dynasty. Li Er's expression turned cold, and he murmured, a strong enemy, huh? He fell silent for a long time, then suddenly sighed. Back when Emperor Yang of Sui launched 3 campaigns against Goguryeo, hundreds of thousands of soldiers died in Liaodong. Goguryeo piled up their bones to build a mound to show off their military might. That was a great humiliation to our people. I want to destroy that mound, collect the bones, and bring them back to Guangzhong so they can return to their homeland. But Tang's current strength is not enough to go to war with Goguryeo. In the future, I will definitely destroy the mound they built and wash away the shame of the previous dynasty. If Yun Gaesaman is the future obstacle to Tang's conquest of Goguryeo, then maybe. A flash of cold light appeared in Li Er's eyes. Chingxiu cupped his hands, Your Majesty is wise. But. Li Er frowned, Yun Gaesaman is here as Goguryeo's envoy. If he dies in Tang territory, it may cause a huge problem. It's not that I fear Goguryeo, but if envoy's safety can't be guaranteed, no small country will dare pay tribute in the future. Chingxiu smiled, Your Majesty, that's no problem. Yun Gaesaman could die from illness. What does that have to do with Tang? Huh? What do you mean? Li Er was confused. Chingxiu said, Your Majesty, I once had a dog. This dog liked to eat pork. But pork is harmful to dogs. Over time, the dog got sick and eventually died of illness. Li Er and Zhangsun Wuji widened their eyes, staring at him in horror. Though he didn't say it directly, every word hinted at poisoning. Li Er firmly shook his head, No. I am the ruler of a nation. How can I do such a lowly thing? That would go against the will of heaven. Chingxiu secretly pouted, Just now you were the one who wanted to kill him, and now you say it's against the will of heaven. What's going on? Not wanting to argue with this double-standard Li Er, Chingxiu found an excuse and took his leave. Although many censors submitted memorials to impeach Chingxiu over the incident of the Yamato envoys being killed, and Chingxiu was also forced to attend this morning's court session because of it, all the impeachment comments were suppressed by Li Er and didn't stir up any waves. Li Er looked at the military officials and said, Marquis Qing's method of training soldiers in 100 days has been very effective. Recently, training for cavalry battles has been frequent, which led to many horses in the Special Forces camp getting injured. Li Jing submitted a memorial asking me to allocate a batch of war horses and equipment to the Special Forces camp. But there aren't many war horses in the stables, and gathering horses from the civilian population will take time. The training of the Special Forces camp cannot be delayed, so I've decided to first allocate 2,000 war horses from the left Martial Guard to the Special Forces camp. Upon hearing this, Cheng Yaojin, Yu Qigong, Li Ji, and Chai Xiao all felt their buttholes tighten. Li Er continued, My dear ministers, who among you is willing to allocate 2,000 horses from your own camps? Cheng Yaojin cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, my left Martial Guard can allocate some horses, but not many, only 200. It must be said, this move by Cheng Yaojin was very clever. Voluntarily offering 200 horses prevented the situation from escalating. As expected, Li Er nodded and smiled, Cheng Jijia truly is a pillar of my great Tang. I'll remember this generous act. Once more horses are procured, your camp will be repaid double. Cheng Yaojin joyfully cupped his hands and said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Li Er looked at Yu Qigong and said, The remaining 1,000 or so horses will be taken from Yu Qijingda's camp. Yu Qigong was dumbfounded. He quickly stepped forward and said, Your Majesty, the horses in my camp are limited. We only have about 10,000 cavalry, and fewer than 1,000 spare horses. If over 1,000 are taken away at once, I won't even have a full 10,000 strong cavalry unit anymore. Oh, fewer than 1,000? Li Er said with a smile, then just contribute 800 horses. Yu Qigong wanted to speak but stopped. He suddenly felt like he'd been tricked. The remaining 1,000 horses will be taken from Li Ji's and Chai Xiao's camps. Li Ji and Chai Xiao wanted to speak but didn't say much. They both began to envy Cheng Yaojin. This fat man really was clever. Li Jing cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, constantly reallocating horses is not a long-term solution. We should find a way to reduce damage to the horses. Li Er sighed, That's easier said than done. Since ancient times, war horses have been critical. Every dynasty has considered reducing damage to war horses as a top priority, but no one has found a real solution. Since it's been brought up today, why don't you all think of a way to reduce damage to horses during training? The officials began whispering to each other. Marquis Qing, Li Er looked at Qingxiu and asked with a half-smile, do you have a solution? Why is it me again? Qingxiu muttered in his heart and decisively shook his head, Your Majesty, I have no solution. Li Er said with displeasure, You say you have no solution without even thinking about it. Is that true or false? Qingxiu shook his head, Your Majesty, I really have no solution. Li Er pondered, if even Marquis Qing has no solution, then there truly might be none. Let's talk about the Yamato envoys being killed. All the officials were stunned. Wasn't this matter already suppressed? Why did Li Er suddenly bring it up again? Qingxiu said helplessly, Your Majesty, I have a solution. We can put shoes on the horses. Li Er was stunned and murmured, Put shoes on the horses? Many officials suddenly had a bright look in their eyes. Shoes for horses? Is that even possible? Horses aren't humans. Horse hooves are vertical. I'm afraid shoes won't fit. Even if you manage to put shoes on them, after traveling long distances, they'll wear out in 2 days. Wearing out is a small problem. What if the shoes fall off? Your Majesty, this is not practical. Horses are not people. Their hooves are vertical. We've tried putting shoes on horses before, and after running just a few dozen li, the shoes fall off. It simply doesn't work. Marquis Qing thought of shoeing horses? We actually thought of that a long time ago. Many military officers looked disdainful. Ling Er also said, Marquis Qing, people have suggested shoeing horses before, but they all failed. Qingxiu said listlessly, Others are others, I am me. The shoes I give to horses are naturally different. Oh? What's different? Ling Er asked with interest. Qingxiu simply pulled out a round iron piece from his sleeve and said, This is the shoe for the horse. Ling Er angrily said, You already prepared the horseshoe, why did you say earlier that you had no solution? Qingxiu scratched his head and said, Well, I forgot. Ling Er almost wanted to strangle him right then. Qingxiu felt much better inside. Seeing Ling Er suffer made him secretly happy. Actually, after hearing Li Jing talk about hoof damage yesterday, Qingxiu had already thought of horseshoes and even ordered 4 large crescent-shaped iron plates from a blacksmith in the city. He had guessed this issue would be discussed in court today, so he came prepared. Wait. Ling Er said suspiciously, You had this with you. Did you already know in advance that today's court would discuss horse hoof damage? Qingxiu explained, Yesterday I ran into the Duke of Wei in Pingkong Ward, and we chatted casually. That's how I learned about this, so I prepared in advance. Ling Er's mouth twitched nonstop. With a dark face, he said, Since you were prepared, why didn't you say so earlier? Well, I forgot. No matter what you say, that's my excuse, I forgot. Ling Er was furious. He slapped the table and shouted, You think this little iron piece can prevent hoof damage? I don't believe it. What do the rest of you think? It's not reliable. Just an iron piece, no way it could be a shoe for a warhorse. I don't believe it either. Your Majesty, I impeach Marquis Qing for speaking nonsense and trying to gain attention. Ling Er said with ill intent, Marquis Qing, see? No one believes you. If this thing in your hand can't solve hoof damage, I'll punish you. Think carefully. If you admit your mistake now, it's not too late. I'm always merciful. If you admit fault now, I'll just dock 1 month's salary and have you pay a fine of 800,000 coins to atone. Then I won't make it difficult for you. Qingxiu's mouth twitched. Good heavens, 800,000 coins? Why not just rob me? Now Qingxiu was angry too and said, Since no one believes me, how about we make a bet? A bet? What kind of bet? Ling Er asked with a laugh. Qingxiu raised the iron piece and said loudly, If this thing doesn't solve the problem of hoof damage, I'll contribute 1,000,000 coins for military use and to expand the horse stables. I'll also compensate everyone involved in the bet with 10,000 coins each. But if it does solve the problem, everyone who participates must pay me 10,000 coins each. What do you all think? As soon as he said this, the hall erupted. Qingxiu's wealth shocked even Ling Er. If you asked who the richest person in Tang was, the royal treasury would be first. But second on the list was definitely Qingxiu. It was conservatively estimated that his family assets exceeded 3 million coins. 1 million coins? Does he really have that much money? Lord Lu, just the alcohol business of Marquis Qing's family has earned no less than 1 million coins, right? Not to mention, the business of his restaurants is booming. My relatives in Luoyang said that the Baiwei Ju restaurant has already opened a branch there. Let's not even talk about 1 million coins. Even 10,000 coins is nothing to Marquis Qing, but for us, that's decades of salary. If it were a few hundred coins, this old man might gamble, but 10,000 coins is way too much. Marquis Qing, can I bet 500 coins? 10,000 is too much. An old official asked eagerly. Qingxiu glanced at the old official and casually smiled, My lord, you'd better not get involved. If you lose and suddenly drop dead from a heart attack, it won't be worth it. After speaking, Qingxiu turned to the officials and said, Come, place your bets. My house is overflowing with wealth. This is a rare chance to fleece me. Once this village is passed, there won't be another inn. 20 or 30 officials had already crowded around. Li Er saw this scene and twitched the corner of his mouth, smiling bitterly. This brat has turned the imperial court into a gambling house, huh? Fine, I'll place a bet too. Li Xiaogong said in surprise, Your Majesty doesn't actually believe that little iron piece in Marquis Qing's hand can solve the issue of horse hoof damage, right? Li Er nodded with a conflicted expression. I do believe Marquis Qing might be able to do it. But, 1 million coins, that's a considerable income even for the state treasury. I might as well take a chance. Just like the saying, take a chance, and your bicycle becomes a motorcycle. Brother Hejian, want to place a bet too? Li Xiaogong laughed heartily. Of course, with such excitement, how could I miss out? I don't believe that small iron piece can solve a 1,000-year problem of damaged horse hooves. Yu Qigong also shook his head dumbly. I don't believe it either. Only Chang Yaojin looked at Yu Qigong with pity and muttered, His Majesty is betting that Marquis Qing will lose so he can win 1 million coins. Didn't you hear that even His Majesty chose to believe in Qing boy? You, blackhead, insist on going against the current. TSK serves you right to lose. Chang, what did you say? Nothing, hurry up and place your bet. By now, Qingxiu was completely surrounded by the civil and military officials. Qingxiu squeezed out of the crowd and cupped his hands to Li Er. Your Majesty, please serve as a witness, lest someone refuses to acknowledge the bet afterward. How about Your Majesty write a promissory note? Li Er clapped and laughed. Good idea. I'll write a promissory note. He rolled up his sleeves and wrote one, then handed it to Wang De and said to the officials, Whoever wants to bet, write your name and amount. Those who bet on winning win, and those on losing lose. Wang De came down the steps and laid out the document before everyone. I bet 500 coins that Marquis Qing will lose. I bet 1,000 coins he'll lose. I bet 100. I bet 3,000. A 10,000 coin bet was mere pocket change for Qingxiu and Li Er, but for ordinary officials, 10,000 coins was decades of salary. But among the officials were also titled nobles with fiefs, who had accumulated a decent amount of wealth over the years. Only a dozen or so people could afford to bet 10,000 coins, most others bet several hundred or 1,000. Qingxiu quickly estimated that most people were betting on his loss, totaling over 300,000 coins. Those betting on his win were only 5 or 6, Chang Yaojin, Zhang Sun Wuji, Li Jing. The wealthy Chai Xiao even bet 50,000 coins on Qingxiu losing, proudly saying that fortune favors the bold. But he forgot the next part, fortune is also lost in danger. Qingxiu held the promissory note high and shouted, Anyone else want to bet? This is your chance. After a long wait, Li Er saw no one respond and ordered Wang De to take back the document, then smiled at Qingxiu, Marquis Qing, the betting is closed. Please begin your performance. Qingxiu grinned, Your Majesty, please prepare a horse. Li Er complied. Soon, a strong warhorse was brought to the front of the Taiji Hall. Qingxiu instructed a few guards to hold the horse, lift its leg, place the iron piece on the hoof, and nail it diagonally with a small hammer. This scene left the officials dumbfounded. They actually nailed it directly into the hoof? So crude and simple, won't the horse feel pain? Good heavens, nailing it directly? I think this might actually work. Don't scare me, I bet 1,000 coins. Many looked visibly uneasy. Until Qingxiu finished nailing all 4 horseshoes. Li Er asked in disbelief, That's it? Yep, done. Qingxiu smiled, with the shoes nailed, now we test. Please have a capable rider ride this horse over rocky ground a few laps. The hooves will suffer no damage. Li Er looked shocked and asked, Nailing shoes into the hooves, doesn't the horse feel pain? Qingxiu explained, Actually, a horse's hooves are like our fingernails, they're keratin and have no pain sensation. As long as the nails don't go into the flesh, the horse feels nothing. Some of the gamblers started looking worried. Only Chang Yaojin cackled gleefully. Zhang Sun Wuji was delighted too. Qingxiu thought to himself, The happier you are now, the sadder you'll be later. Chai Xiao said bitterly, It's that simple? Really that simple? And no one ever thought of it? My 50,000 coins, just gone like that. Chai Xiao, don't start mourning yet. The result isn't out yet. Yu Qigong said unhappily. Chai Xiao said helplessly, Isn't this already a done deal? Look at those shoes, they're sturdy, and sparks fly when the horse runs. No way those will fall off. Even the sharpest stones probably won't pierce them. Hearing this, the hearts of many betting officials sank. Li Er quickly found someone to ride the shoed horse over the rocky ground for a few laps. An hour passed quickly. The guard returned riding the horse. As it ran, sparks flew and clinking sounds were heard from the hooves. The guard dismounted outside the Taiji hall, cupped his hands, and said, "Reporting to your majesty, I ran several laps over the rocky field outside the city. The horse ran smoothly, completely unaffected, and even crushed a lot of stones. These iron shoes are very effective." As soon as the guard finished, a thud was heard in the crowd. Everyone turned to see an old official lying unconscious on the ground. Qingxiu twitched his mouth. "I told you not to bet, but you insisted. And now? Heart attack, right?" That old man who bet 500 coins had just fulfilled Qingxiu's prophecy. However, the old official didn't die. He was sent to the Imperial Medical Institute by Ling Er and was quickly brought back. The reason he fainted was due to sudden agitation and stress. Ling Er returned to the Dragon Throne, and the officials returned to the Taiji Hall. Ling Er looked around with a smile and said, "Everyone, those who bet must accept the outcome. Those who bet on Marquis Qing losing must deliver their stakes within 1 hour. I also bet on Marquis Qing losing, so I'll set an example first. Wang De, withdraw 10,000 coins from the palace's expenses and deliver them. All who placed bets, go home and get your money." It must be said, Ling Er was still quite fair and just. Many officials who had bet left with their heads hanging low to fetch their money. "Haha." Chang Yaojin laughed. "Marquis Qing, I bet 10,000 coins on you winning. With these odds, I should be earning at least 10,000, right?" Qingxiu looked at him with a strange expression and said, "Duke of Lu, what makes you say that? When I started this betting round, did I ever say that those betting on me winning would get a payout?" "Ah?" Chang Yaojin's eyes bulged, and his face began twitching. Zhang Sun Wuji also darkened his face and said unhappily, "Son-in-law, you can't be so shameless. Let His Majesty judge. If not for the payout, who would bet on you winning?" Qingxiu innocently replied, "Father-in-law, let's not make things up. You let His Majesty judge too. What exactly did I say when I opened the bet? What I said was, if I lose, I'll pay 10,000 coins to each person who bet against me. I never said I'd pay those who bet on me winning." So ruthless. Qingxiu was ruthless enough to scam even his father-in-law. Ling Er frowned and looked at Chang Yaojin and Zhang Sun Wuji, then suddenly nodded. Marquis Qing did indeed say that. That's right, he only mentioned compensating those who bet on him losing, not those who bet on him winning. Zhang Sun Wuji was dumbfounded on the spot. Chang Yaojin, with a dark face, said, "You brat, such a scammer. So we worked for nothing?" Qingxiu grinned, "Not for nothing, not at all. A payout based on normal odds is clearly unreasonable, but I can give each of you a participation prize. The key is in participating." Chang Yaojin waved and laughed. "Forget it, a mere 10,000 coins isn't a big loss." Zhang Sun Wuji thought about it and nodded with a smile. It's his own son-in-law, why fuss? If the household ever lacks money, he could just have his daughter send over a few carts. About an hour later, the officials who had lost their bets delivered all their stakes. Outside the Taiji Hall stood dozens of carriages loaded with copper coins and silver, looking quite spectacular. Although Qingxiu had said he wouldn't pay those who bet on him winning, he still gave Chang Yaojin, Zhang Sun Wuji, Li Jing, and others 10,000 coins each. After all, he couldn't let those who supported him feel cold-hearted. The few of them were so happy they couldn't close their mouths. Each took home several carts of copper coins. Li Jing, delighted, returned home with the coins. When Red Whisk and their daughter Li Yingqi saw the massive carts of money, they were stunned. Red Whisk asked in surprise, "Big brother, you just went to morning court, how did you bring back so much silver? Did His Majesty reward you for some achievement?" Li Jing laughed. "It wasn't a reward from His Majesty, it was from Marquis Qing." Then, Li Jing recounted everything that happened in court. Red Whisk smiled and said, "Based on what you're saying, this Marquis Qing seems like a pretty good person." "Yes." Li Jing nodded and sighed. Who would have thought he'd solve a long-standing military problem with just a few iron pieces and earn over 300,000 coins in one go? That's easy money. "Dad, really?" Li Yingqi was shocked. "We've worked so hard over horse hoof damage for so long, and he solved it with just one iron piece? A very simple method. Unfortunately, no one thought of it before. TSK, Marquis Qing's cleverness really lives up to his name." Li Yingqi couldn't help recalling how he had spanked her yesterday afternoon. Her face turned red, and her hand unconsciously touched her behind. She could still feel the pain. But, it was a pleasurable kind of pain. Even though the spanking was harsh and painful, she felt an unparalleled sense of pleasure. She had even felt a bit disappointed when he stopped. "Yingqi, what's wrong? Why is your face so red? Are you catching a chill?" Red Whisk asked with concern. Huh? Li Yingqi snapped out of it and quickly shook her head. "It's nothing, I just suddenly felt a little hot." Then she ran back to her room, leaving Li Jing and Red Whisk confused. But they didn't think much of it. Qingxiu also returned home with dozens of carts of copper coins and was likewise bombarded with questions from his wives and concubines. After explaining, their flattery and praise made Qingxiu feel like he was floating. Because horseshoes had solved a major military issue, even though Li Er had lost 10,000 coins, he was very happy. He immediately ordered the Ministry of Works to begin mass production and issued a decree rewarding Qingxiu with a lord's estate. This estate was originally intended to be the residence for the Princess of Chang'e. But since Qingxiu was about to marry the Princess of Xiangqing and still had no proper prince consort residence, Li Er generously gifted it as their marital home. However, compared to the lord's estate, Qingxiu still preferred his current mansion. After all, the lord's estate was too big, and the rooms too far apart. If he wanted to try a dragon with many phoenixes, he'd have to run a long distance. Time flew, and the wedding date with the Princess of Xiangqing arrived. Qingxiu temporarily moved his entire household to the estate. On the first day, the estate was decorated with lanterns and festoons, covered in festive red lanterns, and hundreds of servants were busy preparing everything. Early the next morning, Su Xiaochun, with her big belly, personally helped Qingxiu dress in the groom's attire. Marrying a princess was vastly different from taking a concubine. The scale was set to the highest by Li Er. He arranged a 3,000-man wedding procession for Qingfu. Along the entire Zhuke Avenue, guards were placed every 10 steps with long spears as barricades. Almost the entire city of Chang'an had gathered on Zhuke Avenue. Fortunately, it was wide enough, 150 meters across, but even so, the crowd was massive. Among the crowd, Yan Yushur looked at the seemingly endless procession, and envy wasn't enough to describe her feelings. Xiao Cui held her arm and said with a sweet smile, "Miss, no need to envy. Princess weddings have always had this level of ceremony. I say, true love matters most. Didn't Mr. Qing say he would marry you after the princess?" Yan Yushur blushed and nodded. "That's true. A princess wedding should be like this." Beside them, a young girl looked at Yan Yushur in surprise. After hesitating, she asked, "Miss, are you also engaged to Mr. Qing?" Yan Yushur turned and saw a young woman a few years older than herself, just as beautiful, perhaps even more so. She hesitated and asked, "Miss, do you mean?" The woman nodded slightly with a hint of bitterness and said softly, "Indeed." Yan Yushur had asked casually, but she didn't expect the girl in front of her to actually admit it. For a moment, she was speechless, her expression quite complicated, even a bit angry. What the hell? Just watching a princess's wedding procession on the street, and she bumps into another of the groom's lovers? Is this a coincidence, or are there just too many of them? In fact, the girl who spoke up was none other than the charming widow Cui Yuran of the Qinghe Cui clan. Yan Yushur frowned. "You say you're engaged to Mr. Qing? Is that true?" Cui Yuran nodded calmly. "Of course it's true. How could one lie about such a thing? Just now I heard Miss say she was engaged to him, and it reminded me that I too have an engagement with Marquis Qing. Since we are both engaged, that means we may live under the same roof in the future. So I thought I'd be bold and come introduce myself in advance." Before Yan Yushur could speak, Xiaocui beside her said unhappily, "We don't even know you, who wants to live under the same roof with you? So shameless." Yan Yushur pulled Xiaocui aside and frowned. "Xiaocui, don't be rude." Cui Yuran was a few years older and more experienced. She seemed to have long accepted the matters between men and women. She smiled gently, her manner graceful, and said softly, "It's all right. I came over uninvited. Since Miss doesn't want to get acquainted now, we can meet again in the future." As she spoke, Cui Yuran was about to walk away. "Hey, you," Yan Yushur wanted to say something but stopped. Cui Yuran turned back and asked, "What is it? Is there something else?" After going through emotional setbacks, Yan Yushur had become much more open and gracious. She stepped forward, bowed slightly, and said, "My name is Yan Yushur. May I ask how to address you, sister?" Cui Yuran smiled. "I'm Cui Yuran. Your surname is Yan. Are you from the Yan family?" Yan Yushur gently nodded, "Yes." Cui Yuran smiled with her lips pressed together. "I've heard that the Yan family has a legitimate daughter, learned and talented, well-mannered and gentle, virtuous and graceful. Seeing you today, it's truly as they say. You must be the one in the rumors?" The flattery made Yan Yushur blush slightly. She waved her hands modestly and said, "Miss Cui exaggerates. Those rumors aren't accurate, you shouldn't believe them." Seeing her so shy, Cui Yuran couldn't help feeling playful and said with a mock look of realization, "Oh, I see. So, according to you, the rumors are false? Then Miss Yan is not learned and talented, not well-mannered and gentle, nor virtuous and graceful." Yan Yushur was a bit startled. Well? Miss, you're joking. From your accent, you're not from Chang'an, are you?" Cui Yuran shook her head. No, I'm from Qinghe. Yan Yushir was shocked. You're from the Qinghe Cui clan? When Cui Yuran nodded, Yan Yushir was even more surprised. She said, the Cui family is first among the 5 great surnames. Qinghe Cui is the top branch. Miss Cui, you're as beautiful as a flower, with graceful and refined manners, a model noble lady. And yet you're becoming someone's concubine? Your elders agreed to this? Aren't you afraid of being criticized? Cui Yuran hesitated with a trace of bitterness, then sighed softly. Alas, it's because I'm a widow. Yan Yushir was completely stunned. So she was a widow. Cui Yuran smiled openly and said, Miss Yan, as the legitimate daughter of the Yan family, aren't you also becoming someone's concubine? Yan Yushir was at a loss for words, then smiled bitterly. I won't hide it from Miss Cui. This past late spring, my grandfather hosted a poetry gathering. He boldly declared that whoever won the championship would marry the Yan family's legitimate daughter. Mr. Qing won the title, but he already had wives and concubines. My grandfather feared it would damage the Yan family's reputation and went back on his word. In the end, not only was the Yan family's reputation not preserved, but we were also criticized for breaking our word. Later, after some difficulties, I became engaged to Mr. Qing not long ago. Once he marries the princess, he'll take me in as a concubine. At this point, I don't ask for much, just to be with the one I love. Cui Yuran understood, so that's how it is. I truly didn't know there was such a story between you and Marquis Qing. After chatting for a while, the two grew more familiar. Yan Yushir curiously asked, Miss Cui, how did you meet Mr. Qing, all the way from Qinghe? Cui Yuran smiled bitterly. To be honest, I was tricked here by my uncle. Your uncle? Cui Yuran explained, my uncle is Duke of Lu, Cheng Yaojin. My aunt is the first lady of the Cheng household. After I lost my husband early, I kept to myself for 3 years. My in-laws passed away within those years too. Once the mourning period was over, suitors came to Qinghe one after another. But they were all old scholars, widowers, or reclusive elders. I didn't like any of them. So I told my family I wouldn't marry again. But not long ago, my uncle sent a letter to Qinghe saying there was a remarkable young man, peerless in talent, handsome, with excellent character. He praised him to the skies. Yan Yushir covered her mouth and laughed. The letter must have been about Mr. Qing, right? Cui Yuran smiled bitterly. Who else could it be? The letter even had one of his poems. After reading it, my grandfather and father were amazed. So they pressured me to come to Chang'an. A few days ago, I met Mr. Qing at my uncle's mansion. I found him agreeable, so I accepted the proposal. I'm a widow, not expecting much. As long as he treats me well, being a concubine is fine. Yan Yushir smiled, then soon, we'll be family. Cui Yuran unconsciously blushed and nodded slightly. She paused and curiously asked, Miss Yan, I just arrived in Chang'an, and I've heard quite a bit about Mr. Qing. They say he already has several wives and concubines, but I don't know exactly how many. Could you tell me? Yan Yushir thought for a moment, then began counting on her fingers. Mr. Qing's main wife is the one assigned by the government, from a neighboring village to Sanhe. Her name is Su Xiaochun. The second concubine is a widow from our village, named Yunyang. The third concubine is the daughter of Lord Zhangsun Wuji. Her name is Zhangsun Pingting. The fourth is the proprietress of Baiwei Ju restaurant, named Li Yuchan. Because of Miss Li, Mr. Qing once killed the eldest son of Duke Lu Yaohui of Xinghua. This story spread far and wide as a romantic tale of slaying for beauty. The fifth concubine. Yan Yushir looked at the princess's wedding procession and said, the fifth one is currently in that bridal sedan chair, the princess of Xiangqing. Cui Yuran was stunned, inwardly exclaiming, good heavens. Who was Zhangsun Wuji? A founding minister of the dynasty, destined to be one of the top 3 dukes. Yet his treasured daughter is just the third concubine. And now, even a princess has become his fifth concubine. What an extraordinary honor. In that moment, Cui Yuran no longer felt that it was shameful for a woman of the Cui family to become a concubine. Actually, what Yan Yushir mentioned were only the concubines of Qingxiu known publicly. There were still 2 concubines in the Qing residence she didn't know about, Ling Yuqing and Lu Yunyan. As for the Turkic princess Ashinayu, that was a sure thing in the future. And Jiang Yener, who even went into confinement for his sake, would certainly be taken into his household as well. Marrying a princess was much more complicated than marrying anyone else. There were over a dozen procedures, including a ritual to worship the heavens. By the time all the steps were completed, it was already noon. Outside the prince consort residence, a group of young men had gathered. Seeing them, Qingxiu was a bit stunned. They were Cheng Chumo and Cheng Chubi, the brothers, Zhang Sun Chong, Ling Chongyi, Fang Yayai, Du He, and Niu Jianhu, the son of Niu Jinda. Each of them held a disciplined stick in hand and looked at Qingxiu with bad intentions. Qingxiu's heart tightened. He quickly asked Wei Laojiu, who was holding the reins of the horse beside him, "What's this? Why is each of them holding a stick?" Wei Laojiu replied gloatingly, "Marquis, you may not know, but this is called the beating the groom ritual, a step that can't be skipped when a noble family marries off a daughter." Qingxiu's mouth twitched. "Beat who? Me?" Wei Laojiu chuckled, "Of course it's to beat you, Marquis. Who else would they beat?" Qingxiu sucked in a breath. Though he had spiritual power and a body like a war god, he was still human. Even with a strong physique, one hit from such a thick rolling pin would still bruise him. "Come on, Qing brother, hurry up and enter the gate. The lucky hour is almost over, haha." Cheng Chumo waved his stick, laughing and provoking. Zhang Sunchong rolled up his sleeves and smiled, "Even though you're my brother-in-law, don't expect me to show mercy. The harder the beating, the closer you and my sister will become." Ling Chongyi grinned cruelly, "After all, Xiangqing is my cousin. As her cousin, I hope your married life is sweet and full of love. That means the groom must be beaten thoroughly, the more you beat, the closer you become." The onlookers around had already begun encouraging the scene. Qingxiu said with a dark face to Wei Laojiu, "Go tell them, just put on a show, that's enough. I'm someone who holds grudges." Wei Laojiu happily ran over and passed the message to each of them. Though the rich young men agreed on the surface, their gleeful expressions clearly showed they had no intention of going easy on him. With no choice, Qingxiu had to use his ultimate move. He suddenly bent down, assuming a starting posture. Cheng Chumo's face changed. "Crap, he's going to charge in. Everyone, get ready." All of them raised their sticks. Qingxiu sneered, then leapt forward, so fast he seemed to blur. Before Cheng Chumo and the others could react, Qingxiu had already dashed inside the main gate. "Wait! I haven't hit him yet." Everyone stared dumbfounded at the now in the gate Qingxiu. Qingxiu chuckled, "I'll remember today. I'll deal with you all later. Want to hit me? Go train a few more years first." With that, he swaggered off. The rich kids were all dejected. Not only did they fail to hit him, but now they were on his blacklist. So frustrating. The next part was much simpler. Officials of all ranks came to offer congratulations. Every official in Chang'an had to attend. Who would dare disrespect Ling Er? The congratulatory gifts alone filled several rooms. Then an imperial official stood at the entrance of the prince consort residence and read the imperial edict, saying something like, "The princess is married, the whole empire celebrates. All citizens of Great Tang shall receive a 30% tax reduction," prompting a drumbeating celebration throughout Chang'an. By dusk, Qingxiu had finally finished seeing off all the guests, and then brought some food to the bridal chamber. After opening the door, the bride sitting on the red embroidered bed trembled slightly. Dressed in wedding clothes, Li Lizhu nervously gripped her skirt. As the footsteps approached, Li Lizhu's heart pounded. She suddenly shut her eyes, her eyelashes quivering. Qingxiu lifted the red bridal veil, causing Li Lizhu to jolt. "Nervous?" Qingxiu teased with a smile. Li Lizhu glanced at him and pouted shyly, "I'm not nervous. You should be. I'm a princess. Now that you've married me, you must follow royal etiquette. Every morning you must greet me, at night you must wait for my summons to enter the bed, and for 3 meals a day, if I don't sit down first, you can't eat. Anyway, from now on, you'll follow my lead." "Humph." She turned her face aside, blushing and pouting. Qingxiu said with a smirk, "What royal etiquette? You married into my family, so you have to listen to me. I'm the head of the house, what I say goes. Come on, call me husband." Qingxiu lifted Princess Xiangqing's chin, revealing her flawless and delicate face. Li Lizhu's beautiful eyes stared at him, her lashes trembling, voice quivering as she blushed. "Am I beautiful?" Qingxiu joked, "I'm blind. Even if you looked like a fairy, I wouldn't be able to tell." Li Lizhu shyly slapped his hand away and pouted, "Nonsense. I already heard from my father that your eyesight is almost recovered. Though it's not perfect, you can tell day from night and recognize outlines." Qingxiu thought to himself, right, I did say that to Li Er. Guess I can't use the blind excuse anymore." He nodded, "Beautiful. Very beautiful. Your husband likes it very much." Li Lizhu lowered her head in shyness and trembled as she asked, "Then, compared to your other wives, who's the most beautiful?" Qingxiu answered without hesitation, "You are." Li Lizhu was both shy and happy, but feigned anger, "Already sweet-talking me right after the wedding. Is that so? Then I'd better sweet-talk you properly." With that, Qingxiu held her face and kissed her rosy lips. Li Lizhu shivered, her body stiff, her mind blank. She initially wanted to resist, but then remembered they were now married. From now on, she belonged to Qingxiu. Though nervous, she tried to relax. But as someone with no experience, she could only follow his lead. Gurgle gurgle. Suddenly, her stomach growled. She quickly pushed Qingxiu away and buried her face in the blanket with a whimper. Ha ha. Qingxiu laughed, patted her little butt, and said, "Wife, come eat something first. After we eat, your husband will take you up to the sky, let you float like a fairy." Li Lizhu sat back in her spot, her face still red, and asked in surprise, "There's a hot air balloon in the prince consort residence?" Qingxiu's mouth twitched, "The kind of going to the sky I meant isn't that one. You'll understand soon enough." Li Lizhu didn't think too much about it and rushed to the small table to eat. Having been hungry all day, she was starving. While eating, she mumbled, "Then once I'm up there, I'll take a good look at the scenery below." Qingxiu squinted and smiled, "You will, for sure. Not only will you see the scenery below, you'll feel it too." Can the scenery be touched? Princess Xiangqing felt that she was ignorant, but she soon understood the meaning of this phrase. Scenery indeed can not only be seen, but also touched. After eating something simple, the sky was completely dark, and candles were lit in the room. The candlelight was bright. Yingtao, with several maidservants, entered the room. Some carried washbasins, some held towels, some held a change of clothes. After serving the princess with washing, all the maidservants except Yingtao withdrew. But after waiting a long time, there was no sign Yingtao wanted to leave. Qingxiu frowned and said, "It's so late, if you are not going back to sleep, why are you staying here?" Yingtao was stunned, then her pretty face turned red. She looked down deeply, but lifted her eyes to look at Princess Xiangqing. Princess Xiangqing also blushed and said, "Yingtao will stay tonight to serve us. That is the rule." Qingxiu's mouth twitched inward. "All right, buying one and getting one free?" He forced a bitter smile, "Where do so many rules come from? You don't need someone to serve when you sleep, right?" A wronged expression appeared on Yingtao's face. She looked as if about to cry, choked softly and said, "Does the prince not like Yingtao?" Seeing the young girl about to cry, Qingxiu hurried to comfort her. "Yingtao is so cute, who would not like? How would I not like you? I saw you standing here tired, I wanted you to go back and rest early." Yingtao looked at Princess Xiangqing again. Princess Xiangqing, with a shy and coquettish tone, said, Yingtao came as part of the dowry. Since ancient times when a princess marries, she always brings a close maidservant, and on the wedding night they together serve the husband. Qingxiu paused, then carefully looked at Yingtao. A pair of big eyes like an anime character Rem, a 1-meter-something petite figure, though just budding, compared to Princess Xiangqing in body shape, she did not lose. A delicate round face, skin so fine it could burst with a puff, an extremely cute appearance. If not assigned a maid outfit, it would be a true waste of such beauty. The little maid was at most 14 years old in age. So young, she could handle grown-up duties? This later definitely, starting at 13, death penalty would not be too much. Perhaps due to previous modern education haunting him, Qingxiu had absolutely no thoughts about Yingtao in his heart. So he could only say to Li Lizhu, "Today is our wedding, the bridal chamber night should be our two alone sweet time. I don't wish to be disturbed, it's not because I don't like Yingtao. Moreover, I alone also can't handle it all." This felt against his heart. It was not that he alone could not manage, it was because Yingtao's age was really too small, he simply could not go through with it. At least must wait another 2 or 3 years. After hearing the previous words, Princess Xiangqing felt sweet in her heart and also shy. But the later words, "I alone also can't handle it," almost made Princess Xiangqing believe Qingxiu's lie. She, face blushing red, pinched Qingxiu, then softly said to Yingtao, "Yingtao, then listen to the prince, you go back to rest first, another day come to serve sleeping." "Yes, princess." Yingtao, originally a bit anxious and nervous, instantly relaxed as if relieved. But in her heart she still had a small loss. After Yingtao left, Qingxiu came to the side of the bed, leaned forward, lightly lifted Li Lizhu's delicate chin with his finger, pressed his lips and said, "Princess, it's late, we should rest. Let the little maid serve you well for a bit." Li Lizhu made a soft sound and turned her face away, voice trembling, "Please, please prince take pity." These words seemed like heaven thunder stirring earth fire. Qingxiu, a famished tiger pounced at prey, yet also did not forget to coach, "What do you call me?" "Prince. Prince consort." "Think carefully, what should you call me?" "A husband, husband." Gradually, Princess Xiangqing bowed under Qingxiu's dominance. The bud had just shown its tip, already has a finger placed atop. Not recognizing the true Lushan face, the hole is deep within this mountain. Time passed quickly, clouds cleared and rain stopped, the two's relationship drew much closer. Early the next morning, before the two fully woke, someone came knocking on the door. The person was Yingtao. As if someone had taught her, Yingtao with red little face used scissors to cut away that one red bed sheet. After carefully putting it away, she said to the two, "Princess, prince consort, people came from the palace. The emperor dispatched a messenger. By the emperor's command, Prince Consort must go soon to Taiji Hall to discuss military affairs. Qingxiu's expression displeased. What father-in-law is this? Just married the day before yesterday, and the second day asks to attend morning court? In 985 they would not treat people this way, even if dragging a donkey to grind, they wouldn't do this. A few words made Yingtao and Princess Xiangqing laugh. Yingtao pinched her lips, face turning red, almost laughed out. Princess Xiangqing lazily sat up and nudged Qingxiu, face timid. Husband, what nonsense are you saying? Father made you go to palace so early, to discuss military big affairs. Surely there must be big affairs. Husband, quickly wash up and go to palace. Qingxiu helplessly, understood, I'll get up now. If last night lying in bed it was other wives or concubines, he would in any case do some morning exercise before going to the appointment. But sharing bed with the princess, he couldn't openly stand Li second up. So he quickly put on clothes, washed, ate a bit in the kitchen, and then took a carriage to the palace. Inside Taiji Hall, civil and martial officials were already present, and some were whispering. I bet Wenwen, today Qing Ho will be late. No need betting? He definitely will be late. Just married to the princess just yesterday. With Qing Ho's lazy style, if he doesn't delay at least an hour to attend court, then he's not Qing Ho. Yes, who dares to be like Qing Ho, sleeping you could roll off the bed and fall leg. You guess, after Qing Ho is late to early court today, what excuse will he make? He, definitely flaunting his waist. Pfft. At this moment a messenger led Qingxiu into Taiji Hall, instantly blocking the idle talk. Emperor Li'er was quite surprised, thinking today this kid came fast, maybe changed? Qingxiu came into the hall, cupped hands, and said, Your servant humbly greets your majesty. Li'er pointed toward the row of martial officers. Qingxiu moved to stand among the martial officers, choosing to stand next to Chang Yaojin. At the same time he also noticed that among the martial officer group, there were several unfamiliar faces. Li'er said nothing, as if waiting. Civil and martial officials were solemn and grave. The inside of Taiji Hall was unusually quiet. Qingxiu softly asked, Uncle Chang, what's the situation? Chang Yaojin, switching from his usual easygoing mode, looked serious. The Turks have attacked. 200,000 troops have reached Xia Prefecture, rapidly advancing straight to the heart of Chang'an. Within at most 5 days they will reach the Wei River. Qingxiu startled in his heart. After 2.5 months, Jieli finally deployed the army. Yuan Yaojin saw Qingxiu was not wearing an eye patch, so he leaned in and quietly asked, I heard His Majesty say that your nephew's eye illness has taken a turn for the better? Qingxiu mentally complained that Yuan heir had such a big mouth, leaking information like a cotton trouser's waistband. Yuan Yaojin waved a palm in front of his eyes and asked, What is this? Qingxiu pushed Yuan Yaojin's big coarse hand away and joked with a smile, If you hadn't asked, what is this, I'd have thought you intended to slap your nephew. Haha. Yuan Yaojin laughed, It seems your eye illness is almost healed. After today's court meeting ends, come over to my mansion and take a good look at your future concubine, Lady Qing Chui. Qingxiu's mouth twitched. However, the news that his eye illness was nearly healed, once spread, would be a good thing, a blessing coexisting with misfortune. At least he could ask Yuan Yaojin, who are those new faces? If before, asking this would surely make people drop their jaws, you were blind, how did you know these were new faces? Yuan Yaojin explained, the information was brought into Chang'an by scouts last night. His Majesty summoned several generals from other major camps to attend court overnight. They are new faces to you, but they are all founding ministers. That one with a scar on his face, fierce-looking, is Duke Zhang Liang of Sun. Next to him with the big beard is Duke Ho Junbing of Chen. Behind Ho Junbing, the young-faced one is Duke Duan Jixuan of Bao. The one with a wax-yellow face, clearly a sickly one who can't afford food, is Zhang Gongjin. Qingxiu was extremely surprised. Nearly all of the future 24 meritorious officials of Lingyan Pavilion were present. He curiously observed 2 people, one old and one young, both wearing Taoist robes, and asked confusedly, It's just morning court, why invite 2 Taoist masters? What are they here for? Mentioning this, Yuan Yaojin became a bit excited. These 2 are extraordinary. They are both heavenly masters of the Department of Astronomy. The older one, looking like an immortal with otherworldly bones, is Yuan Tiangang. The younger one, with a pale face and no beard, is Ling Chunfeng. These 2 excel in numerology and magic methods, especially night star observation and bone-touch physiognomy. They are remarkable. Qingxiu's mouth twitched. Good heavens, they were the 2 biggest charlatans of the Tang dynasty. When Ling Er saw most people had arrived, he picked up a piece of scroll paper filled with dense writing and said, This is an urgent report scouts brought overnight. The Turkic Kaganjeli leads 200,000 troops southward. When scouts reported, Turkic forces had already reached Xia prefecture. At the marching speed of 200,000 troops, within no more than 5 days they will reach the Wei River. I do not want to suffer another white horse humiliation like at the start of the year. The time to battle the Turks and settle victory or defeat has come. Although the white horse humiliation was only 6 months ago, my original plan was to rest and recuperate for 2 to 3 years before facing the Turks again to avenge the insult. But since the appearance of the Duke of Zhengguo, our tang has been renewed. Now not only is the national treasury ample, but 2 types of new high-yield grain have been presented. You all know about the new grain, so I won't elaborate. Now, the new army trained by the one-day to formation method has proven quite effective. Its combat strength rivals that of veteran cavalry. Today's morning court is not for any other reason than to appoint generals. This time guarding against the Turks, who wishes to serve as the commander-in-chief. Ling Er looked around and finally focused on the martial officers' cadre. The veteran officers heard there would be war, and a chance to earn military merit. They became as if injected with chicken blood. Qin Qiong passionately said, "Your Majesty, I wish to serve as commander-in-chief, leading the army to strike fiercely at the Turks." Yu Qigong also eagerly said, "I wish to serve as commander-in-chief, to annihilate the Turks in one go." Cheng Yaojin, "I wish to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead the army." Ho Junji, "Your Majesty, I have been resting for almost a year, my arms are rusty. Better to have me as commander-in-chief." Zhang Liang frowned, "Your arms are rusty? My legs are nearly rusty too. If I don't go out and move, my days may be few. Your Majesty should let me serve as commander-in-chief." Qing Xiu looked at this group as though they were idiots. Truly, as the saying goes, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. Also, the risk borne is the greatest. War is no joke. Turkic cavalry are battle-hardened, and that's 200,000 troops. Only about 80,000 veteran soldiers defended Chang'an. As for the 100,000 new soldiers, they've never seen combat. One misstep means 100,000 souls lost. Ling Er smiled and looked at Qingxiu hiding behind Cheng Yaojin, and said, "Duke of Zhengguo, why are you hiding behind the Duke of Lu? Afraid I'll call your name when appointing a general." Qingxiu silently took the eye patch from his huaili, put it on, and with a strange expression said, "Your Majesty, you really wouldn't think a blind man can lead troops to war, right? If you truly thought so, aren't you afraid I'd lead 100,000 troops like headless flies, easily avoiding the Turkic army?" Ling Er's mouth twitched, his expression displeased. "I just casually asked, wanted to hear your opinion, to hear your viewpoint on the war, also to understand from you how you view this unexpected war." Qingxiu exhaled in relief. As long as he wasn't sent to fight, he could say anything. At this moment he wasn't afraid to offend anyone, and he stepped forward and clearly said, "I believe that the final use of a tool is to put it to use." 2.5 months ago, 100,000 new soldiers participated in training. The training method was the Macedonian phalanx and horse combat. The phalanx is the most effective way to restrain cavalry. When training the new soldiers, the focus was on coordinating military formations, with mounted combat as a secondary. Now nearly 80 days have passed. Although there is still more than half a month before the 100-day formation is complete, these new soldiers can still be brought out for a test. If they don't experience baptism by fire, endlessly theorizing on paper, new soldiers will never grow. I suggest that for this defense against the Turks, these new soldiers be put to the test. Ling Er smiled and nodded, "That is also my thought." "Then who do you think should serve as the commander-in-chief?" Qingxiu did not name anyone directly, but said tactfully, "Whether the tool is useful depends on how well the person wielding it controls it." Ling Er laughed outright, "A tool wielded by the right person. Ling Jing, you trained the new army, so let you be the commander-in-chief." Ling Jing did not refuse. He clasped hands and said, "I follow your Majesty's arrangement." Many other generals showed expressions of resentment. "Your Majesty, that is 200,000 troops, and you rely on a batch of new soldiers trained for 80 days, to face experienced Turkic cavalry? This is no child's play. Not just child's play, it's sending 10,000 new soldiers to their deaths. Your Majesty, you must not act rashly. Do you want the white horse humiliation to happen again? Please, Your Majesty, rescind the order. Marquis Qing is blind. It may be okay to let him handle development, but combat, we should think twice. Your Majesty cannot just listen to Marquis Qing's single opinion. If one mistake causes total defeat, that is 100,000 lives lost." Ling Er also displayed hesitation. The minister's words were not without reason. He truly had been insufficiently thoughtful.
Did you enjoy the story, guys? I hope you did. Support this video with a like and a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.